let the good times roll.
Barrett Jackson's here in New Orleans for the very first time.
And we are about to jazz up the car scene.
We have supercars that will undoubtedly double your fun.
Raging resto mods.
Classics and customs to spice up everyone's day.
And an amazing ride that will sell to benefit a great cause.
The auction block is primed,
The crowd is ready.
so sit back and soak it all in.
Barrett Jackson, New Orleans, is speeding at you right now on the History Channel.
It is a beautiful day in Louisiana, perfect for the very first Barrett Jackson collector car auction in New Orleans. And it's Super Saturday. What a day it's going to be. Of course, we had a great day yesterday. A lot of fun stuff crossing the block. The number one seller, though, was a bit of a surprise. Not a muscle car, but a classic English name. This 1947 Bentley Mark VI Saloon crossed the block and sold for $89,000. But today, well, it's Super Saturday, and you know what that means. The quality of the cars and, of course, the price of the cars is going to be on the rise, just getting more and more. And we've got a very diverse collection of cars, something for just about everybody. I mean, if you want classic American iron, well, how about Dennis Collins' 1970 GTO, very original? You want something like a Restomod? There's a beautiful 1965 Mustang with a modern Coyote engine that'll cross the block. And, of course, we've got modern exotics like a Lamborghini Huracan. And that's just the beginning of all the things you'll see crossing the block on this Super Saturday. And of course, because we've got such a variety of cars, we need people who know the most about the variety. And with that, well, let's go up to the block where Mike Joy is standing by.
Thank you, Rick, and hi, everybody. That's the greatest thing about Saturdays at Barrett Jackson is the diversity of the docket. If the Oldsmobile on the block right now doesn't spark your plug, well, the Packard right behind it probably will. We got a wide array of cars, and including supercars. There's a mid-engine Maserati MC20 on offer today with just delivery miles. That's a car I'm particularly interested to see how it does. So as they roll across the block, we'll try to give you details on these cars, what they were like then, and why they're so collectible now. And joining me up here, the host of Hoovie's Garage on YouTube, Tyler Hoover.
Thanks, Mike. I mean, this is kind of a pinch myself moment right here because it's my first time spending the day on the block for Super Saturday. And like Mike said, a very diverse selection of cars, classics, customs, and one that's really interesting to me is a custom supercar, a 2005 Ford GT Hennessy edition. They put turbos behind the supercharger to make it over 1,000 horsepower. This is a big collectible car stock, so we'll see if it adds any value versus a stock one, which we also have one of those selling today, but it's just one of many amazing cars selling on Super Saturday, including what's going on right behind me. Let's take a look.
Yeah, it's lot 631, a 1971 Oldsmobile convertible, and it's a 442 W30 recreation that is just hammered sold for $37,000.
Yeah, and that's just the beginning of the great cars we're going to see crossing the block here on Super Saturday in New Orleans, our inaugural trip here to Louisiana. Rolling up behind it, how about a 1937 Packard 120? It's a CD Deluxe Touring Sedan.
This, when new, and even today, is one of the most luxurious cars on offer. Packards can always be told by their coffin top radiator shell and grille shape. And in this era, they were all topped by what Packard called the goddess of speed. Well, today some wags call it the donut chaser.
Well, the marketing slogan for Packard back in the day was "Ask the man who owns one," because the cars were so well built, so amazing to drive, that their own customers were their best advocates. Packard had a rich history as well. They set the land speed record in 1919 with a 12-cylinder aircraft engine-powered car, 149 miles per hour, which in 1919, that was really flying. The company went bankrupt in the late 50s, but in between their cars are just outstanding.
Did you know that a long-lost relative of mine was the president of Packard in the 1920s? Look up Henry Bourne Joy. He was also the head of the Lincoln Highway Association that built America's first cross-country highway, paved highway from New York City to the Golden Gate in San Francisco.
You know, I think I had a relative who changed a tire on a Packard once. I think that's about the closest we're ever going to get to that. And of course, you know, there was part of the big 3 Ps of luxury. It was Packard, Pierce, Arrow. And what was the third one? I just forgot it. Packard, Pierce, Arrow, and, well, it's amazing the way the memory works sometimes.
Well, and I'd say this one is quite a buy because it is a gorgeous restoration on a straight 8 car. When you're looking for classics like these, the straight 8 is the one to have. Very smooth.
It was Peerless. Forgot that for just a moment. All right, it's amazing the way the brain sometimes doesn't work. All right, the big 3 Ps of luxury. Away that goes, and we're going to check in with April Rose.
Hey Rick, I'm in the staging lanes right now. This is a really cool spot to be. Right before the cars go onto the block, you can come out here to Barrett-Jackson and get your last looks up close, like this beautiful 1971 Charger. Now, I love the body. They got a new one in 71 with the hips that sort of swoop up in the back, accentuated by this racing stripe, and of course the trim on the vinyl top. They also got a more aggressive back end, and you can see they squared off the taillights and also added this spoiler in 71. Now, this one's a true RT440 car, which is called out on the hood with the graphics and badges, and has that sleek two-tone satin black look. And take a peek inside with the white vinyl bucket seats, matching white vinyl top, and you got the tack on the center console right there. Now, the best part is it has the original broadcast sheet. This is so important. You can see this is the actual one. A lot of times you'll see copies, and if you take a close look, you can see the imprint where it sat under the seat for years and years. Now, paper is really important because you'll see in the future, in Star Wars, in Star Trek, everything's digital. You're not going to have paper. And Rick, I'm kind of nervous holding this right now because I'm going to be in so much trouble if I lose it.
Yeah, you don't want that to just blow away in the breeze, get sucked into the air conditioning vents here in New Orleans. Somebody would not be happy with you. 1957 Chevy Bel Air custom hardtop up on the block right now. Just that fast, it sold for $36,000. That had a modern 1970 era 350 cubic inch engine under the hood. Right behind it, something much more modern, big SUV. How about this, a Porsche Cayenne. This is a diesel Overland custom.
Well, the first generation Cayenne changed the game for Porsche. All of the sports car purists were up in arms that Porsche would build an SUV. Well, guess what? The midsize Macan SUV and the full-size Cayenne, like this is, are now the company's biggest sellers, far outselling their 2-seat sports cars.
I think they did a fantastic job with the Cayenne because a lot of luxury SUVs really didn't have much off-road cred. Like the BMW X5 didn't even have a low-range transfer case. This one has that. It had locking diffs. So you really could take these off-road, and they had great performance on-road. So you do see more and more of these overland builds with these old Cayennes. This one's lifted maybe a little bit to fit the off-road tires, but otherwise pretty stock in the air suspension to where you could raise it up this way. This one being a diesel, though, that's pretty cool as well. A lot of Volkswagen, Audi-based engines would make it into the Porsche, and that's what this diesel is. Probably gets 30 miles per gallon on the highway.
So to perhaps assuage the sports car crowd, when Porsche created the Cayenne, they did a few things that would be familiar to 911 owners, such as the 3-spoke steering wheel, the 5-gauge pod in the dash, and the ignition key to the left of the steering column, just as it is on every 911.
And the exhaust note as well. It sounds like a Porsche. It sounds like a performance car. So it's really a good blend. But once again, people want SUVs. Why not enter that market?
So my wife's Cayenne is her daily driver, and she pushes the sport exhaust button every time she gets in. And no, she doesn't want the next one if it's going to be all electric. Thank you, no.
$28,000 for that Porsche Overland. Well, we have 5 hours of live auction coverage coming from you from our inaugural Barrett-Jackson in New Orleans. We're going to go all the way until 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Once again, every single live hour right here on the History Channel. Well, by now you've probably noticed that we're missing a very important member of our broadcast team. Our friend and colleague Steve Magnante, unfortunately, is not here in New Orleans with us.
And if you've been following the Steve Magnante YouTube channel, and we hope you do, you know that Steve's been battling some very serious health issues.
But there is some good news. He's recently showed some positive signs to some recent treatments, so we're all hopeful.
And Steve, we want you to know, we know that you're watching. We love you. We miss you. Obviously, this broadcast is not going to be the same without you, and 100% of the car community stands behind you. We're going to see you soon.
So even though Steve can't be with us in New Orleans, we brought a little bit of Steve Magnante to the block.
That's right. These are his signature glasses. This is how he decodes everything, because these must be very special, right?
Absolutely.
Well, we know Dr. Prakash has the History Channel on in your hospital room today, so you can watch, and we hope you're going to enjoy the entire thing. And Steve, we are thinking of you every minute we're here in New Orleans.
Get well soon, buddy.
I feel
Better.
smarter. How does that work?
It's the glasses. And with that, we're going to take a break here in New Orleans. We will come back to the Barrett-Jackson collector car auction in just a moment.
I'm just outside the convention center here in New Orleans, about to go on the Dodge Thrill Ride here with Rick. What are we riding in?
We got a Charger Red Eye making 797 horsepower.
I've been working on my sketching skills, and I want to sketch and capture the essence of the thrill ride while we go for a run. Is that all right?
Oh, I get Tyler.
Okay.
Let's do a ride. All right, Tyler, sharpen your crayons here. Here we go.
Well, it kind of looks like a Charger, but maybe it's been in a slight accident.
Tyler, I just want to know one thing. Did your artwork get worse or get better as a result of the ride?
That was actually pretty good for me. I didn't evolve much past maybe the first grade when it comes to my art skills, but I am working on it. Thanks for the encouragement.
Never know. Maybe that's your new role. 1980 Chevy K10 custom pickup truck up on the block right now.
Well, everything is big on this K10 here. Obviously, there's the lift and the giant tires. They have the Fox component shocks under there, but also a big block under the hood, 468 cubic inches, turbo 400 automatic transmission, a beautiful respray on the body as well, with the desirable step side bed.
Yeah, good news of those big, huge tires. They've got power brakes on there, power steering. They've got a modern electronic ignition, dual fuel tanks on that. There you see one of the fuel hoses right there where you can fill it up on one side, fill it up on the other side as well. So you can go a long way in this thing. MagnaFlow exhaust, great combination of equipment, $34,000. And with that, let's check in with Mike Joy, who's standing by with some special guests.
With Craig Jackson and Steve Davis. You know, I've been doing this for 20 years and you for a lot longer, but I've never had so many people say, I've always wanted to go to a Barrett-Jackson, and finally, you guys are here. Yeah. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, the city has really embraced us. Tuesday, we did a reception with the mayor. They gave us the key to the city, proclaimed it Barrett-Jackson Week. The city couldn't be more inviting, and every day I hear the customers saying, oh, I went out to dinner last night and the food blew me away.
Yeah, it's been a great week for everybody. Now, Steve, the docket Friday, we had some really great cars, but I liken this to a rock concert where the opening act is fantastic, but they're the opening act. Well, that was Friday. Now the stars come.
Absolutely. We've got the A-team on deck, Mike. It's going to be an incredible offering for New Orleans. We're excited about being here. And to your point, people are so excited. They've embraced Barrett-Jackson. It epitomizes what the culture is all about, the car culture, the people that make it up. We got a great charity moment coming this afternoon, so stand by. Muscle cars, Ford GTs, customs, you name it, we got it.
And Craig, the great thing about this venue is the heat and humidity are no problem. We're inside all day. All the cars are inside. This is nice.
We also lucked on the weather. It's not that bad outside. We were walking around last night. It was beautiful out.
All right, get set for a great day, folks. Buckle your seatbelts.
All right, thanks a lot, Mike. Up on the block now, the 2021 Jeep Gladiator Custom Pickup.
Well, if you thought that other truck was big, well, this one's even bigger. 6.5-inch lift on the 2021 Gladiator. Jeep finally came out with a pickup truck-based Wrangler a few years ago, and they lend themselves very well to customization like this. Still the stock 3.6 under the hood, but obviously all the mods went into the suspension and the bolt-ons. You see that roll bar in the back with the speakers to blast the people behind you.
And that just sold for $60,000, that 2021 Jeep Gladiator Custom Pickup Truck. Well, we've been talking all week about our fantasy bid game brought to you by Dodge. That's the big prize right there, that 2023 Dodge Charger. So let's take a look at who is in the lead after 3 of the 4 Barrett-Jackson auctions this year. See that name, Keith R? He's in the lead. Brad H, Jason T, chasing him, Steve G, Ron I. They're playing the game today, trying to figure out if they can come away with that 2023 Dodge Charger. And by the way, you can play the game, and even if you're not in the lead in the points, if you can guess all 12, you get the perfect 12. You can win $100,000. So make sure you play just for fun. Make sure you go and register. Up on the block now, a 1971 Dodge Charger RT440. This is the one that April previewed just a little while ago.
Now, we saw a lot of love yesterday on a beautifully restored third-generation Charger 440, and we're seeing it today in the room, but even though it doesn't have the look most people like with the 68 to 70s, it has a lot of the Mopar stuff we love, the plum crazy purple paint, 440 Magnum with the RT graphics, white vinyl top and interior. April pointed out the body style being radically different. You can see the wider hips in the rear.
You know, I prefer this body style. I think of the 68 to 70 Chargers being just a little bit chunky. This really has sleek 200-mile-per-hour lines. And you know who agrees with me? Richard Petty. He has one of these in his collection, and he says it's the most beautiful race car he ever drove. Of course, he won a lot with it, too.
$72,000 for that 1971 Dodge Charger. Gotta love the color. All right, time for us to take a quick break here in New Orleans, but coming up, a 2011 Aston Martin Vantage V12. I love that color. It's midnight blue, got that 6-liter V12 engine, ceramic brakes. It'll be up on the block before long. Welcome back to New Orleans, Barrett-Jackson, and let's check in with April Rose.
Hey, Rick, I am in Bronco heaven right now. This is a second-generation 1979 Bronco. It's basically a pickup truck from this B-pillar forward. I love the visor up there on the windshield, and it also has a grill guard up front. And this Bronco, it pretty much has everything cool you can do. They swapped the motor with a 460 big block, and they got 2-inch Skyjacker lifts to fit these meaty off-road tires, and of course the sweet chromatic like stripes, which back in the day was an option, $487. Yeah, I think it's worth it. And it's really, really big outside, but I want you to take a peek inside as well. It's got retro sound and just these fantastic high-back captain seats that were a $396 option with the cloth inserts. You got the movable armrests. I mean, Rick, I know you're pretty comfortable up where you're at, but I think you should request some 1979 Bronco seats to do the auction from.
Oh, yeah,
Really
absolutely.
nice.
Absolutely.
I'm going to stay here the whole time. Yeah, I like this.
I think they should install those up on the block. I can see Mike in that right now. Thanks a lot. 1965 Mercedes-Benz 220 SEB.
Well, this was the Businessman's Express. These hand-built cars, very powerful, and they just ate up the miles on the Autobahn. This one's had a complete professional restoration using the original manufacturer paint from Glasurit and the original source of leather for the seat covers. Great restoration here.
Yes, and this was the Mercedes generation that really established itself in America as an alternative to, say, Cadillac or Lincoln. You saw more and more of these on the road, the W11 and the W08 for the sedan. This one, the inline 6, it's the smaller inline 6, which may be why it won't see the bigger numbers you see with, say, a 280 SE. But still, beautiful body style, sunroof coupe, and you see the restoration. The interior, they did a great job as well with the leather and the wood, which the entire dash is complete, a big piece of wood.
Yeah, the sunroof is a very rare option on these. Lots of burled wood there. This also has power steering and power brakes. This is one of the cars that Detroit used as a benchmark when designing cars like the old Toronado and the Cadillac Eldorado that would follow in just a couple of years. A 2+2 personal luxury car, or businessman's express.
They are pretty mechanically invincible, very simple fuel injection system. The only thing that can get these cars is rust. It's a big killer when it comes to values and to restorations. This one's listed as starting with a rust-free body that was treated before it was repainted. So the only thing to really watch out for these, this one you don't have to worry about. It does look really nice.
Well, and the SEB, for what it's worth, was at least the top of the line of this, had that Bosch fuel injection. So while it was the businessman's express, you got a whopping 120 horsepower out of it.
Complete frame-off restoration. Jack, spare tire tools, a mat for the trunk, and as said, not a speck of rust anywhere. Nicely done.
You know, this body style came out, I think, in 1961-ish or so. Before they had the pontoons, before the pontoon fenders in the late 50s. Really loved the sleeker lines of this era for the Mercedes.
Major league bargain right here. At $30,000, I would guess that this restoration could have cost triple the amount bid. But, you know, the people that own this car have enjoyed it, and it's ready for its new home. Automatic transmission too, whereas a lot of these were 4-speed manual transmission cars.
Well, this one just sold for $32,000, and the Summit Racing sold sticker goes on, and away it goes for $32K. I love the fact they put those stickers on, so when you're walking around, you can see exactly what all the cars sold for. Well, we call this Super Saturday for a very good reason. The cars are spectacular. How good? Well, we sent our team out to find the cars we think are going to be special when they cross the block.
Super Saturday is always where we see the best of the best selling at Barrett-Jackson, and it's no different here in New Orleans. We're checking out some of our favorites, and here's mine, a 2020 Lamborghini Huracan Evo. This is the fastest version of an already fast car. 630 horsepower V10 and a beautiful spec. Verde Mantis green and loads of forged carbon fiber. What do you have, Mike?
Tyler, I may finally have found my dream Corvette. This is an absolutely stock-bodied 58 with the one-year styling touches like the washboard hood and the tux. Black over beautifully stitched red leather, but it's what lies beneath that's really special. It's an Art Morrison chassis, C7 independent front and rear suspension, an LS3 small block with individual fuel injection trumpets. Wow! Wouldn't you like to have a 65-year-old body with all new mechanicals? I know I would, and this fits the bill. Now here's Rick. He wants to go fast.
Well, that's right, Mike. I may have found the perfect automotive thrill ride. It's lot 725, a 2005 Ford GT, but this one's special. It's a Hennessy 1000 edition. It's got twin turbochargers that have been mounted to this engine. It'll pump out 1,000 horsepower. It'll slam you into the seat as you're rolling down the highway. April?
Thanks, Rick. Talk about variety. Check this out. 1954 Chevy Custom Pickup. It's got the original factory 5-window body, stunning gray metallic finish. I mean, every detail is pristine. And the heart, an LS2 all dressed up to look like a vintage small block. This is truly art, and it proves there's something for everyone here on Super Saturday.
Automotive eye candy everywhere you look here at Barrett-Jackson, New Orleans. No short of graded cars like this Bentley Continental GTC Speed that just hammered sold at $52,000. That's a 2014 edition. Classic American muscle, 1970 Chevelle Custom.
Well, 1970 was the top of the mountain for performance in Detroit in the first muscle car era. I dare say we're in the middle of one right now. But you could get the big blocks, the big motors, and here we've taken a regular Chevelle two-door hardtop, treated it to a big block engine with headers, an Edelbrock manifold, a big 4-barrel carburetor, giving it a lot more horsepower than it was born with. This is an LS6 with a 4-speed manual transmission.
Yeah, the LS6 was the top dog. They made like 60,000 Chevelles in '70, but a small percentage of them were the LS6. So this is a great tribute to that. They would have had 450 horsepower, probably underrated when they left the factory. And it was about the third fastest, when I looked it up, of the muscle car era, behind a few Mopars. So serious performance. It makes sense somebody would take a normal Chevelle and make it into one of these, since they made so many.
I like the Astro Blue exterior with the black stripes to match the interior. 1970 saw Chevys with seats with separate headrests. They would be integrated on most model lines 1 year later. One way you can easily tell this is not a real SS is have a look at the instrument panel. This one has the horizontal speedometer that all regular Chevelles got. If you had a Super Sport, you got round gauge binnacles in that dash. But no harm, no foul. It's not trying to be something it's not, but great performance out of this.
Another thing they didn't add was the cowl induction you would see on the LS6 most commonly. It has a traditional hood rather than the vacuum flap that would open up when you hit the throttle to give it a little extra power. It's a normal air cleaner, and no bump in the hood with that flap coming up.
And since Dr. Date Coach Steve Magnante isn't here, I'll make the point that this is a 136 VIN code, which means it did start life as a V8 engine. It's just had a big upgrade since then.
Yeah, nice paint, nice, good presentation. Brand new BF Goodrich radials on those rally wheels with trim rings. Nicely done.
Yeah, and it looks the part. I mean, nobody's going to know that you don't have an SS when you come driving up. When you're at the local car show, you know, this isn't something you're showing at a concours event. But if you're at a local car show, people are going to think you've got an awesome car, because it is. For $53,000 with that LS6 454 engine. Goes away up to the skybox. Next up, a 1970 Mustang Mach 1. This is a 428 Cobra Jet.
Wow, great performance car here. This was a 2-year styling cycle for Ford, 1969 and 1970. Prior to 69, every Mustang had just 2 headlights. In 69, they gave it a 4-headlight front and then reverted back to the 2 headlights here for 1970. All the big news is under the hood. That's where all the Super Cobra Jet performance options lie.
1970 was the only year where you could get a Mach 1 or a Shelby. This Shelby was done in 1970, that relationship, and the Mach 1 became the big performance car for Mustang into the 1970s. And then you have the Cobra Jet, of course, with this one.
Now we're getting into serious money here, and one reason may well be what's on the car card on the windshield, and that is the mileage, less than 24,000 actual miles. Lots of provenance with this. Kelsey Hayes Magnum 500 wheels in chrome. The body gaps look good. Usually that front door gap is wider than the rear, and we see that here. Spoilers, slats, the big wing, and the shaker, the 3 S's, spoilers, slats, and shakers. That's what you want to see on a fully done Mach 1.
Yeah, 69 and 70, many think is the prettiest years of the Mach 1. Easy to say that compared to the 71 to 73s. But the Mach 1 name also continued on the Pinto-based Mustang 2, which is just a crime against humanity that a V6-powered Pinto-based car also got the Mach 1 moniker for a little bit. But obviously, this is the beginning of it and the best here.
A year or so ago, Ford brought back the Mach 1 model of the Mustang. $70,000. We're in, I think we're in good territory now.
Yeah, we're closing in on the #1 sale of the day. So far, that's a 1971 Dodge Charger that sold at $72,500. We're just $500 away. We've got an internet bidder involved. We got somebody up in the skybox, and I can see why. I mean, I'm close to this car, and it looks great. It's got a deluxe Marty report. It's been authenticated. As you mentioned, it's got 23,000 miles on the odometer. What's not to like about this?
One thing that I see that's maybe not quite correct, and that is the rear striping on the Mach 1, I believe was done in black Scotchlite, so that at night it would reflect white, in the daytime it would look black as this presents.
Well, it came close. $71,000 makes that the #2 sale of the day so far on Super Saturday. But as we know, the numbers are just going to get bigger and bigger. Coming up, a 1961 Corvette custom convertible. All aluminum LS1 Corvette engine. It's fuel injected, 4-speed transmission. Boy, it'll be up on the block before too long. Cable cars to collector cars. No shortage of great transportation in New Orleans. And here at Barrett-Jackson, well, that is what's up on the Meguiar's On Deck Cam. It's a 2022 Ram 1500 TRX Ignition Edition. That'll be up on the block very soon. Meanwhile, they just sold a 1979 Ford Bronco custom SUV. You see it right there. It sold for $64,000.
I love the triple side stripes on that in tri-tone. You could get those on the Bronco. You could get them on the Ford Pinto Cruisin' Wagon as well in '79.
Love that era, the graphics. Once again, that 2022 Ram 1500 coming up on the block, and this is the TRX Ignition Edition.
Well, for a decade, Ford had this sort of Baja truck market all to themselves with a Raptor, and when Dodge finally put up their offering, they wanted it to completely smoke the Raptor, and they did it in a lot of ways. First, by getting the Hellcat engine, so you have over 700 horsepower thanks to the supercharged V8 you'd find in a Charger or Challenger under the hood. Big suspension travel, wide body, you can see, and the Ignition Edition basically brought this color and a few other cool styling options. Already $125,000. Wow.
I was going to say, we have our first 6-figure car of the auction. It hit 100,000 and then just blew past it.
So, did they call this the TRX because Tyrannosaurus X wouldn't fit on the emblem? Maybe.
Well, the Raptor's a dinosaur. They wanted to do an even bigger dinosaur, obviously. And there's a few little Easter eggs in there, including one with a T-Rex sort of eating a Raptor. I believe it's somewhere in the front glass, sort of as a little subtle dig at Ford. Cool rivalry. Now, these things are, well, more valuable than a normal Raptor, but then Ford finally answered themselves. We have one selling today, a Raptor R with the GT500 engine and 700 horsepower as well.
$135,000 for that 2022 Ram pickup truck TRX Edition, just sold over the internet. Wow, big money. First 6-figure car of the day. And once again, we've got a great collection of cars that are crossing the block over the course of this day. And there's a select offering from an organization called MS Classics. And Mike Joy's got a quick preview.
This entire row is a select offering from MS Classic Cars in Seekonk, Mass. The two Mopars crossed the block yesterday. Today, yes, this is your 4-speed dual quad positive traction 409, just like the Beach Boys sang about in a 1962 bubble top. Here is a gorgeous Chevy 3100 dropped on its replacement frame, 18-inch wheels, LS2 small block, just a beautiful custom build. I'm drawn to this 1964 Corvette. Chevy made 14,000 convertibles that year. Roughly 3,000 Corvettes were in satin silver. Now this one has day 2 mods, side pipes, turbine wheels, and a highly polished 327 with modern air conditioning and even cup holders. All of these beauties from MS Classic Cars.
Once again, we'll be seeing those cars crossing the block over the course of today. Meanwhile, we've got a 2023 Jeep Wrangler Unlimited. It's a Rubicon with a 392 cubic inch engine.
You know, one thing I like about the Detroit 3 as opposed to, let's say, many of the import brands, they will build your car to taste and give it as much power as you can handle. You can get a 4-cylinder Jeep, you can get a V6 Jeep, you can get a V8 Jeep, and you can get this, the 392.
They didn't initially offer a V8 Jeep when they did the redesign. There were a few years where they were saying, well, we can't, the nose is too short, it can't be safe, it'd be dangerous to have that much horsepower. But clearly they figured it out and did it. 470 horsepower V8 Jeep. Whoever would have thought?
Well, Super Saturday delivering yet again $96,000 for that 2023 Jeep Wrangler, the Unlimited Rubicon 392. Welcome back to the inaugural Barrett-Jackson Collector Car Auction here in New Orleans. The convention center packed with cars and bidders. And we've been talking this week about our fantasy bid game brought to you by Dodge. So let's take a look at who's in the lead. Keith R. managing to hang on after a few cars have already come across. Brad H. chased him desperately. Jason, Steve, Ron. That leaderboard hasn't changed very much. And of course, what are they playing for? Well, the overall winner at the end of this auction will take home this brand new 2023 Dodge Charger. So good luck to everybody who's playing, but remember, plenty more cars left across the block today. So, and if you want to play for the fun of it, go ahead and play for the fun of it. Even if you don't win the Charger, it's just a great way to predict what these cars will sell for. Up in the block now, one of my all-time favorites, a 2011 Aston Martin Vantage V12, currently bid $112,000.
Well, the Vantage was Aston Martin's smaller two-door coupe. They also had the DB7. The Vantage had a V8. The DB7 had a V12, and everybody went, would it fit? And it did. The V12 was squeezed into the Vantage to give it a whole lot more horsepower and smoothness.
This one's even more special because it is the manual transmission, and that's why I believe you're seeing this incredible prize.
And the Summit Racing sold sticker goes on. Away it goes for $110,000, making that the #2 sale of the day so far here at Barrett-Jackson. Mopar time, 1970 Plymouth Cuda AAR.
Well, the AAR was built all in March of 1970. They built 2,300 of them so that this car could be homologated to run in the SCCA Trans Am Series for Dan Gurney's AAR, All American Racers. You got a fiberglass hood with a NACA-style scoop to intake, the 346-pack engine, strobe stripes on the side, exhaust that exited in front of the rear wheels, spoilers, and a go wing. Let's go fast.
Yeah, much like the Boss 302, you didn't want to put a big motor in something to handle on the track. That's why this one got as hopped up as a 340 as possible. One of the iconic Mopars right here. You know, maybe doesn't get as much love as the Hemi, but racing enthusiasts like Mike, I imagine, eat this thing up.
This one has an automatic transmission. The race cars, of course, were sticks. And for the race cars, they had to abide by the Sports Car Club of America Trans Am limit of 5 liters, 305 cubic inches. So noted drag racer Keith Black took the 340s, de-stroked him to 305 for track use by Dan Gurney and Swede Savage.
Yeah, for those of you in the younger world who are coming up and enjoying cars, take a moment to understand and learn about Dan Gurney. One of the great racing car drivers from America, but not just a great driver, a great engineer, great developer, who built some amazing cars and just seemed to always know how to tweak all the rules a little bit.
Now, AAR is still in business. His sons run it, and one of the things that they make that you have seen on TV are the legs that deploy so that the SpaceX rocket boosters can land on its legs instead of fall into the sea. Those are AAR products.
Dan Gurney would be so proud. Dan Gurney, of course, the only American to build and win in his own Formula One car back in 1967 at Spa.
Dan was so popular that in 1964, David E. Davis and the editors at Car and Driver ran him for president. I still have my Gurney for President bumper stickers. Of course, they completely ignored the fact that Dan wasn't old enough then to hold the office. You have to be 35 after all. But it was a great campaign.
It looked for a moment like they had sold it. The hammer came down, but then they continued to take in bids. So they're still going at $68,000.
Well, this is one of these cars where the 4-speed would probably add another 10 to 20,000, but you can enjoy it just as well with the Torque Flight automatic here.
And it does sell at $68,000. And with that, we are going to check in with April Rose.
Hey, Rick, I am really falling in love with this 2023 Challenger SRT Hellcat Last Call Edition. This is the jailbreak. And take a look at this paint. That's called pitch black. You just get lost in it. It is gleaming and beautiful. Now, they literally threw the greatest hits into this car. It's got the wide body kit to fit these massive 20 by 11 inch lightweight low gloss black wheels, which you need because this is the Red Eye, baby. 807 horsepower supercharged Hemi, quarter mile in just under 12 seconds. Now, I want you to see inside because it's got the really cool throwback racing inspired houndstooth seats. You got jailbreak gauges and really cool, like literally cool SRT power chiller that diverts air conditioning into the engine for more power. Now, they call it the jailbreak because you can pretty much get any option you want. Any options available on the Challenger dealer's choice. The last call is the end of the line for the Hemi Challenger as we know it. And Rick, I know you know a lot of high up people. Come on, what's next for the Challenger Hemi? Are we talking electric? Give me a clue.
You know, I don't know the answer to that. Our Steve Magnante is probably the only one in our team who would know it. And unfortunately, he's not with us this weekend, but we're thinking about him, and hopefully we'll know where we're going.
One thing we do know is that Stellantis, Chrysler Corporation's owner, just spent upwards of $100 million to upgrade their Hemi engine plant. And they wouldn't do that if they were going to stop making V8. So I still think the gas engine car and the V8 still has a very purposeful and long future ahead.
$55,000, the current bid for a 1967 Lincoln Continental convertible.
This one's had a beautiful restoration. You can see the laser straight body, but it's the original leather interior in there because this car only has 65,000 original miles.
Yeah, and it's got $56,000 as the final price. And I think that one just sold over the internet here at Barrett-Jackson. 1969 Camaro Custom.
Well, this began as a stock Camaro two-door hardtop, and now it's presented as a car, as a Copo car, an SS427. A Copo means a Central Office Production Order, and it's a car that only certain Chevy dealers were allowed to order with the dog dish hubcap, steel wheels, and that big block motor. This 427 would have been a dealer special.
Well, Super Saturday just getting rolling here on the History Channel. We still have 4 more hours of live auction action to go, so buckle up. It's about to get crazy. Welcome to Super Saturday here at the inaugural Barrett-Jackson New Orleans auction. Great town, great food, and this week it's also got great cars. What a great place to come and enjoy the greatest collector car auction. Look, everybody's filling the convention center. No shortage of bidders out there, and we've already seen a couple cars blow past 6 figures into $100,000 range. And before the day's over, the prices are going to continue to go up. Up on the block right now, off to the right, there you see it, that yellow 1969 Camaro Custom.
Well, they took a standard Camaro Sport Coupe and made it mimic one of the cars you could buy only from certain high-performance Chevy dealers like Dana Chevrolet in Los Angeles, Nicky Chevrolet in Chicago, and Yanko Chevrolet outside Pittsburgh, because this one presents as an SS427.
And the really cool part about this is Chevy wanted to get in on the fun of the recreations with these because they offered this crate motor from the factory, a factory crate motor, 427 made to commemorate the 427 engine, guaranteed 550 horsepower. So the Resto-Mod and custom trend got started here at Barrett-Jackson decades ago, and now even the factories want to get in on the fun.
So why couldn't you buy this from your regular Chevrolet dealer? Because GM had a corporate edict that the F-body cars and the A-body cars, the midsize and the compact cars, were not allowed to have engines over 400 cubic inches. So the limit for the Camaro was 396. You had to know somebody in the Chevrolet Central office to get a production order signed off with a 427. And those dealers I mentioned and several other specialty dealers were able to do just that. So if you didn't want a corner carving Z28, this is the Camaro everybody wanted. It's the one that was in all the magazines, the SS427, and it was all but unobtainable.
Well, it's obtainable now at $75,000, although as we point out, this is a recreation of a Copo car, this 1969 Camaro Custom. Well, we just wanted to share one programming note for you. Drive now has a new name. It's called Torque. All the same great programming, same great people, and of course the same great content. Tune into the History Channel on weekend mornings and also on Sundays on FYI for Torque. Up on the block right now on 2022 Ford Bronco Raptor.
Well, it didn't take long. Once Ford announced that the Bronco would return to showrooms, everybody started clamoring, when will the Raptor version be there? Because Ford had had such success putting all of its off-road chops into their F-150 pickup. Here's the answer, 2022.
Yeah, you can see the wide body treatment on this to fit the larger tires, the custom hood. Powertrain, though, is still an engine you can get in a non-Raptor, although it's been massaged. A 3-liter EcoBoost twin turbo is tuned to 417 horsepower. You see the bead lockers on the tires. This is a serious off-roader. Looks fantastic.
And quickly, this one climbs off the road to $72,000 bid, and it rolls to the edge of the stage to put a little extra pressure on the bidders to get theirs in. LED lights there, bumper widened, big fender flares, off-road chops to be sure.
Yes, this is one of those cars that usually sells on the secondary market for over its MSRP. One of these cars that are just hard to get. Obviously, the price point too low from the factory as far as the MSRP because the demand is much higher. I think we're closer, probably a little over the MSRP at this point.
Yeah, to your point, Tyler, I mean, it's hard enough these days to get yourself a Bronco, but to get a Bronco Raptor, you're going to have to be in a long line. Or you can come here and just raise your hand and take it away.
Now, these fender flares aren't just glued on here. Yes, they are made of a thermoplastic, but they do have a very robust inner fender here as well, which an aftermarket piece will not have. That inner fender extends all the way into the wheel well. So these aren't just glued on. This is very well engineered.
$78,000 for a 2022 Ford Bronco Raptor. 418 horsepower out of that engine, and I love the name of the color. They call it Code Orange. That's exactly what you got. Away it goes. And the great thing is that car will be out here in the auction arena in the convention center because everything gets to hang out. Now, let's take a look at what is about to come up onto the block with the Meguiar's on deck cam. Well, it's sitting out there waiting, but you see it right there. It's they're finally getting to move up. A 62 Chevy Bel Air bubble top. That'll be up on the block pretty soon, but right now it's just rolling into the Meguiar's on deck cam location. But I love what's ahead of it. A 1941 Willis Americar Custom Coupe.
Well, this is one of our buddy Steve Magnante's favorites every time these come to the block, and he'll tell you about building the Stonewoods Cook Revell 125th model car kit, or maybe the Big John Manzanian's version, because these a lot became quarter milers, and that's what's been done here. An unmistakable shape, Willis.
Well, it's hard to believe that these were built first to be economy car, kind of a cheaper alternative by Willis for the Ford Deluxe, which it looks kind of like. And they all came with like Go Devil 4-cylinder engines similar to the Jeep, because Willis made the military Jeeps as well. Of course, hot rodders love the body of these things, and they would do crazy custom work. I believe this one was built in 2003, has a 400 big block under the hood, so way more horsepower than, say, the Ford 40 that it was born with.
Now this one's built to be a straight liner. It's got a battery kill switch here at the tail. It's got the wheelie bars and casters. The flames are easy to see. How about the ghost skulls at the base of the door? Kind of hiding there in plain sight. Wow. Small block Chevy power. Yeah, this thing's built to go in a straight line and in a hurry.
Oh, I found the Ghost, Mike, here on the driver's side. They are very menacing looking right here. Obviously lowered as well. This car looks like it's been driven and enjoyed a little bit, but you could still take it to a show and wow everybody.
As you can see, we've got internet bidders involved. Closing in on $50,000. We're going to make it? Nope. $49,000 over the internet for this 1941 Willis Americar custom hot rod. Barrett-Jackson.com, the place to go to if you want to see the list of all the cars that will be crossing the block today, or if you want to catch up on the cars that were crossing the block yesterday and see what they sold for. You can also check out when Scottsdale's docket finally appears. You'll be able to look at that there as well. All right, this 62 Chevy Bel Air Bubble Top up on the block right now. And by the way, this is one of our fantasy bid cars today.
And this is one of the MS Classic Cars select offerings. Now, look carefully at the headlights because the outer headlights are not headlights. They are grilled openings to feed those big dual quad carburetors. Yes, it's a dual quad, 4-speed, Positraction 409, spin the 45 RPM record, and cue the Beach Boys.
Yeah, it's a fine 409 and also the bubble top. You see that glass up high. Very tall for the car. A very bubbly look in the front and the rear, hence why it got its nickname. Cool trait for these early 60s cars.
Beautiful restoration. This was born a Bel Air, which was the mid-level Chevy for 1962. The Biscayne was the base car. The Impala was the top of the line with a whole lot more stainless steel trim and triple tail lights. So the Bel Air two-door hardtop would have been the medium version. Now, when this rolls to a stop, I want to show you these rear tires. We would all but call these cheater slicks because they would have just barely legal tread on these tires. And they're also called pie crust tires because if you look at the indentations here right around the edge, well, doesn't that kind of look like a pie crust? Yep, just enough tread to be legal and useful at the drag strip, absolutely.
This is an incredible car. The only thing that's not so incredible right now is the price. It's worth a little more money. Let's get it.
And now 70.
Now, no bucket seats here. This is a bench seat car. Bucket seats would have been extra for buckets on a console. So the Hurst shifter just pokes right there up out of the floorboard, right in the middle.
Yeah, so not only is this a beautiful restoration of a bubble top, but it's cool to see sort of what someone would have done if they hot rodded a Bel Air back in 1962. That 409 under the hood, the semi-slicks in the back. Just a really cool look. Neat to see somebody take it and make it their own, but also make it period correct.
So those are Carter AFB quads, dual quad carburetors. Now they are made under the Edelbrock name. Of course, they've been developed quite a bit since, but that same basic design now sold by Edelbrock. Their competitor is, of course, the Holley 4-barrel carburetor. They have quite a range there, but there we go.
$67,000 for a 1962 Chevy Bel Air Bubble Top with a 409 engine underneath the hood. Coming up, how about a 1967 Ford Mustang Eleanor Tribute Edition? Yeah, it's got all the look. It's got that little name right there, and we'll see it up on the block before too long. Don't go away. We'll come back to New Orleans. If you're looking for a collection of cars that spans the full spectrum of American performance, we'll look no further than the Sherwood Classics collection. It's got modern machinery, it's got resto mods, and of course, classic American iron, like Lot 778, a 1958 Corvette. Convertible, of course, and special, restored to NCRS standards. That's the National Corvette Restorers Society. In that interior, perfection. Underneath the hood, a great engine, 283 cubic inches, fuel injection. All the performance you could ask for back in 1958. You love Corvettes, but you want something with better power, more performance? Well, how about a 1961 Restomod? It's lot 681 LS engine, perfect brakes, all that modern technology in an old body. Oh, but you're a Ford guy? Oh, they've got that too. A 1969 Mustang. It's a 428 Super Cobra Jet drag pack. It's lot 779. That big, beautiful top-loader transmission, 4 speeds, and of course, 428 cubic inches that'll blast you down the drag strip. But if you're craving modern performance, well, the Sherwood Classics collection has you covered there as well. Like lot 735, a 2005 Ford GT. I absolutely love this paint scheme. The Wimbledon white, the Guardsman blue stripes, 5.4-liter hand-built aluminum V8 engine, 6-speed transmission. This car has to be the perfect combination of classic styling and modern performance.
Thanks, Rick. Some of those cars are in the staging lanes right now, headed for the auction block, where sits lot 667, a 67 Corvette Custom. I love what Chevy did in 1967 is they gave every big block engine car that Stinger hood in a contrasting color to the body color, often but not always matching the interior, as has been done here.
Yes, but this is a custom, so it probably didn't start life as a 427, probably a small block Corvette, which is why we aren't seeing a big 6-figure number on this one, but still looks every bit of the part. 427 under the hood, and some other improvements. You have the Tremec 5-speed, so you have that extra highway gear with a smoother, easier to whip around 5-speed. Also air conditioning, which you couldn't get in the big block cars in 66 and 67.
Correct 3 deuces, the correct carburetors as used in the 435 horse version. Beautifully done bodywork here in ermine white with red upholstery and the optional for 67 headrests on those seats.
1967 Corvette with that beautiful Stinger hood just sold here at Barrett-Jackson for $87,000. It's a custom, beautifully done, big 427 cubic inch big block under the hood. 1967 to 1968. A lot more 68 sold because everybody was looking forward to this new Mako Shark body style.
Now, this is the first of the C3 Corvettes, so is the way we know them now. And Chevy continued the practice of giving the big block cars a special hood. This was kind of the shape of the Stingray, with that being the tail, but without the contrasting striping. So this one presents as a 427, 435 horsepower version, top of the line with the 3 2-barrel carburetors. This one's been treated to a set of headers and other mods.
And this one is the real deal, an L89, one of 624 built. So they put aluminum heads on the 427 to give it a little extra performance. Now the L88 is actually the even more powerful one, even though it's a lower number, whereas more of a racing version. This one's still a very streetable car and a beautiful restoration.
And it's a 4-speed car as well. That's why I would expect this to be getting towards 6 figures. We're at 62,000. All of these Corvette coupes had T-tops. That is 2 removable top panels. They removed from the sides, and they had a spine underneath that formed the T, connecting the windshield to the B-pillar. And that continued throughout the entire run of C3s. If you don't see that seam in the roof denoting the T-tops, then you're looking at a Corvette convertible with a 1-piece hardtop.
Well, I can see one thing that's not stock, and that's the big side pipes down the side. Much more like a race car you'd see going down the track. You wouldn't want to touch those things when you're getting out of the car. You would want to warn your passenger not to touch their legs against that to burn you. But very cool. You can see the headers, the end of it coming out to the exhaust there. Very cool.
Yeah, they're called header mufflers. Hooker made them, and also a company called Custom Headers that sponsored the Owens Corning Corvette and Camaro race teams for Tony DiLorenzo and Jerry Thompson. We have those on our Trans Am car because they had that sponsorship, and yes, I've burned my shin a couple times.
35 horsepower, tri-power. This car has everything, a meticulous restoration, documentation, absolutely flawless example. Don't miss it. the wrong side of 100,000. Let's get it.
Yeah, I'm with Steve. This is a very nice gleaming restoration, fresh paint, all of the right things that you would want on a 68 if you were speccing one out on the order sheet.
I mean, back in 1968, you could start at 300 horsepower with the 327, work your way up. They had an optional 350, but then you got into the 427s, and there were multiple options with horsepower there, starting at 390, going all the way up to this one, 435.
The only thing I'm seeing I'm not sure of is that the fender flares over the tires, to me, look wider than stock. I'd have to see it next to a couple of others to be sure, but it looks like this one's had a little bit of cosmetic surgery.
Well, away it goes, and you know, we've been talking all week about the fantasy bid game brought to you by Dodge, so let's take a look at who is in the lead, and let's say who is still in the lead. Keith R., Brad H., Steve G., Jason T., Tony G. has now moved into 5th place, trying to work his way up the leaderboard. And of course, the overall winner at the end of this auction will get to take home this brand new 2023 Dodge Charger. It's actually here in the convention center, so good luck to everybody who is playing the game. And guess what? This car right here is another one of those fantasy bid cars. And once again, even if you're not in the points run, I think it's fun to play the game. Register and see how close you can come to predicting what this car will sell for. It's a 1970 Plymouth Barracuda Custom.
So this is a CUDA, as in apostrophe C-U-D-A, as opposed to a Barracuda, which would be the more pedestrian version. This was the performance version. This one with a 440, ghost stripes down the side, and the call out for the cubic inch displacement back at the tail. That's how Plymouth did it then. You got that pistol grip shifter to stir the 4-speed, and the big shaker hood up front.
This one's a custom, so it probably didn't start life as a 440, most likely a lesser car. But they did sort of a stealth custom on this. Other than the wheels, you wouldn't really know it's not a CUDA 440, but they do have a modern suspension under there, modern carburetor setup, an ignition, ceramic coated exhaust. So a lot of modern bits to where you could really enjoy this car without it feeling too much like an antique.
Much larger wheels and tires than it was born with as well. Let's have a look inside at that pistol grip shifter. I think that's just one of the coolest things to appear on these early 70 Mopars. There it is. You can grab all the gears pretty easily there. An aftermarket tack has been added at the front of the console, and it's a big one. It's about a 5-inch tack, aftermarket stereo. So yeah, a lot of customization is going on here, but very nicely done.
Well, and as we see at Barrett-Jackson, sometimes the customs can bring as much or more as the real deal. And I say we're climbing up to that, even though this car wasn't born as a factory 7440 car.
Well, in fact, this one has a C in the VIN, which I believe was a 6-cylinder back in those days. $75,000 for that 1970 Plymouth Barracuda Custom. Away it goes to those folks right there. Let's check in with Barrett-Jackson's CEO, Craig Jackson, who has his eye on a pretty darn nice Ford GT.
We have a 2005 Ford GT. Now, this is just any Ford GT. Hennessy Performance Engineering upgraded this to a GT 1000. So what they did is pretty incredible. I'm going to open up the back here and give you a little look. When I first read the description, I'm like, wow. Twin 67mm turbos in conjunction with the factory supercharger. This puts out 1,000 horsepower estimated, because it's 850 horsepower on the dyno, as well as 699 foot-pounds of torque. It is factory red with the white stripes. All the upgrades were done to this car. The best part about this car, it is selling at no reserve.
Back in New Orleans, up on the block right now, a 1966 Chevy Nova that has just topped $100,000.
Yeah, an incredible build with an LS small block and just about 1400 miles since it was completed. The two-door hardtop body style preferred, and this with a small block 327 automatic transmission. This is going to be a nice little street screamer, this Super Sport Nova SS.
Yeah, the Nova was unveiled a few years before this as sort of an economy car, more traditional than, say, a Corvair, which was a little funky with that mid-engine air-cooled. A lot of them 6 cylinders. This one got LS swapped, which is very cool.
$110,000. Now that 1966 Nova Custom is tied as the #2 sale of the day here on Super Saturday. Let's check in with April Rose.
You're having so much fun on the block here, but this is where it's at. In the staging lanes, you get to see all these show ponies lined up just before they roll on the block, like this 1980 Trans Am Turbo. You got the screaming chicken breathing fire right into that turbo gauge, which is so cool because you can see how much turbo you are using while you're driving. Now, this one's got the special edition package as well that gives you all the gold pinstripes, gold turbine wheels, and take a look inside. It also has the machine turn finish on the dash, just really nice original interior, T-tops. Now, this had a full restoration, full nut and bolt restoration, and looks brand new in the wrapper. And in the back, take a look, the Trans Am racing inspired spoiler and that one-piece louvered taillight. I mean, there's no mistaking this for any other car on the road. Turning heads and breaking hearts all day long, just like you in high school, Rick.
I thought that was more like you in high school. But either way, it's going to be a great car. It'll be up on the block very soon. And this is another car that April previewed that also happens to be a fantasy bid car, a 2023 Challenger SRT Hellcat Jailbreak Wide Body Last Call Edition. This is a lot of names.
Well, it's more than that, Rick. Dave Wise is with me. He is Barrett-Jackson's Mopar expert. It's a red eye as well. What's that?
Yeah, this is a red eye. This is the 807 horsepower. It's the highest horsepower under the Demon, under the 170 Demon.
How rare is this?
You know, it's probably under 1,000 made in this configuration, along with the red eye badging, and there's certainly a red eye on the supercharger.
Wow. Well, here we go. We're at 102 and climbing. Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, and it also, according to the consignor, has only 11 miles on the odometer. So this is a brand new car. Not surprisingly, it is a 2023.
Yeah, I was speaking to the consignor. It's Dennis Collins, a famous collector and dealer we see often at Barrett-Jackson. And I asked him, did you drive it? He said, no, but I ordered it myself. I ordered it with cloth seats. You can see the houndstooth in there because it's hot in Texas where I'm from. So that's how I wanted it. But these cars, this is the last of the Hemi Challengers, the Hellcats, and he saw the value there. He saw that they were selling so far over MSRP, which is probably why he brought it here without driving it, without at least one burnout. I would have done one burnout probably.
All right, notice who's on stage. Craig Jackson has come down off the auction block. He's standing here with Dave Wise. And when Craig comes to the floor, that means he is bidding. And he is now the bidder of record at $108,000.
And now Dennis Collins, who's the consignor, has also walked up on the block. You got both ends of a potential sale here. There we go, $108,000. Congratulations to that gentleman right there. He gets handshakes from everybody because he has walked away with a 2023 Dodge Challenger Hellcat Jailbreak Red Eye. You heard all the names. He signs the paperwork and he gets to buy it. Well, up behind it, a 1964 Porsche 356C, and it's time for some Hagerty facts on our next vehicle. You know, this was Porsche's first production automobile back in 1948 when it was first introduced. And they built these all the way through 1965. And of course, this year, 64, the big thing, four-wheel disc brakes were new to this car back in 1964.
Well, of course, this was sharing showroom space with the all brand new 911, making this car look quite dated, but now they are highly prized by collectors. Rear engine, 1,582cc flat four-speed manual transmission. Interior in black, luggage rack added, restored to a very, very high standard.
Well, when these were unveiled, or the 911 unveiled after it, a lot of people were saying that it was too complicated and too crazy. They wanted a 356 because it was more simple, which is interesting. They continued for a few years where they overlapped, and then the same story with the 911. It was supposed to be replaced with the 928, but that never happened. The 911 continues today, but this is what put Porsche on the map with driving enthusiasts, this car right here.
Of course, this one is the C edition, which came out in 1964, taking over from the B. Everything got bumped up just a little bit.
The consignor purchased this car at Barrett-Jackson in Scottsdale in 2016. Has enjoyed it for the last 7 years. I'll tell you, the restoration, though, looks very, very fresh.
Yeah, it's interesting to point out that the very last 356C was delivered in May of 1966. Interesting, in the world of 911s, they were still pumping out those last few 356 Porsches. The way it goes. We'll be right back. Well, here at Barrett-Jackson, New Orleans, there is money in the house. Right now, it's a $100,000 bid for a 2014 Aston Martin Vanquish V12.
Well, I think part of that money is for the car, and part of it is the collection it came from and the way it's been taken care of. It's just had the 4-year service done, has less than 5,000 miles. Some say that the Aston Martin donated its grille to the Ford Fusion. I can definitely see a bit of corporate similarity there. But this was from the Jimmy Bankhead collection. It has less than 5,000 miles. Car that's been very, very well cared for.
Well, that hammer was in the air for an awful long time. We had bidders in the skybox, bidders on the floor, and that gentleman right there comes away the winner. The Summit Racing sold sticker goes on, and away it goes for $105,000 for a 2014 Aston Martin Vanquish with that big V12 engine under the hood. Now the fantasy bid card, this is a 1957 Bel Air Custom.
Yeah, custom is the word. You can see it's been lowered quite a bit. They're raising the hood right now, 5.7-liter V8, all dressed up. That beautiful gold grille, iconic to the 57. But one thing I don't see often is pinstriping on a 57 Bel Air. You see they did that on the sides, and they also softened up the fins. They don't have the ribs you normally see. It looks like a smooth piece of stainless steel instead.
Yeah, it looks more like a 210. Look at the MSD ignition box. See how they've kind of hidden that back in over the wheel well under the fender instead of out here in the engine compartment. So bright red with all of the Bel Air stainless trim, aside from the fluting, as Tyler points out, down the rear body side. Tan and red interior, red dash, bespoke console, stir-it-yourself transmission, chrome wheels, gleaming red paint.
You can see it's been debadged in the back as well, so a lot of the emblems and things shaved off of it. The interior looks very luxurious, a thick tufted cushion, and you see in the rear parcel shelf they have 57 Chevy kind of stamped out in the rear shelf for the speakers, so a lot of little custom touches on the interior as well.
Love these two-door hardtops. You had the A-pillar at the end of the windshield, and then you had this very thin, very graceful C-pillar here, and that was it. Now, an interesting thing you got with the two-door hardtop is note this stainless trim. When you open the door, it pops out to provide a little bit of added drip rail so the rain doesn't get on you. That's cool.
$78,000 for that beautiful Chevy Bel Air from 1957. All right, we're going to go from a classic of the 50s to something much newer. Barrett-Jackson CEO Craig Jackson has his eye on something a lot more exotic that's going to cross the block later today.
Well, doesn't that sound sweet? Well, today we have a 2020 Lamborghini Huracan LP 640-4 Evo. This 2020 Lamborghini Evo is powered by the 5.2-liter V10, paired to the 7-speed double-clutch automatic transmission. Also comes equipped with the forged carbon fiber rear spoiler, mirror covers, the front splitter, the side skirts, and the air intake. So basically, other than the wheels and the trim around the windows, anything black you see on the outside here is all carbon fiber. Pick up this beautiful Lamborghini Evo. It is also selling at no reserve.
Well, Saturday is getting expensive. Check this out, a 1959 Chevy Apache custom pickup truck, nicknamed the Indian Outlaw, just crossed the block and sold for 412 cubic inches, sold for $200,000 here at Barrett-Jackson. And guess what? Not a big surprise. That is now the #1 sale of the day. And just changing our top 5. Look at our Hagerty top 5 sellers. Yep, that Apache's up on top. That 2022 Ram is right behind it. An Aston Martin from 2011. And that 1966 Nova is now in 4th spot. And once again, you want to break into the top 10 and take at least $88,000 and more than $100,000 to break into the top 5. $70,000 the current bid on this 1980 Pontiac Firebird Trans Am. And it's gone at $70,000. It's a Turbo SE, fully restored. That's the one that April had been previewing for. One of only, I think, less than 3,500 of these that were made back in 1980. Rolling up behind it, we got a 1961 Corvette Custom.
Yeah, very customized, very late in the game for the C1 Corvette, which got a restyling in 1958. And 58 had some one-year touches that are not present here, like the washboard hood, like the tusks. And they really tried to de-chrome the front end of these cars. Note how the headlight bezels on 61 and 62s are body color. 58 to 60, they were chrome. So Chevy was trying to minimize the chrome look. No more teeth in the grille as they got toward the end of the C1 styling cycle. Of course, this one is anything but stock underneath. There's a 5.7-liter Corvette engine there.
Yes, that looks like the LS engine from the first generation Z06 and the C5. So you would have 405 horsepower, which you never got with the 327 back in the day. They still put a vintage nod with that fuel injection badge on the fender, which of course the modern LS is fuel injected. I personally like these with all the jewelry sort of off them, not two-tone. It does look really sharp.
62, the last year of this styling cycle, would be the last Corvette for decades with an opening trunk. And the fellow who is on the stage bidding, well, boy, his shirt matches this car. I think he probably came to bid just on this.
Well, the color is Roman red, which was pretty popular. Not as popular as ermine white was back in 1961, but according to the consignor, this was painted to match the proper color from 1961. Once again, Roman red.
Modern gauges in this one replicate the originals with the speedometer here and the tachometer here. What I don't see that the original had was an hour meter as part of that tachometer. And man in the red shirt got it. Congratulations to him.
He was definitely in it to win it. Every time another bid had come up, he was standing his ground. $135,000, meaning that is now tied as the #2 sale of the day here at Barrett-Jackson. And I can see why. Once again, it's got all that modern engine underneath and great looks, and of course that styling from 1961. Let's take a look at what's about to cross the block with their Meguiar's on-deck cam. You see it rolling into position there. It's a 1972 K5 Blazer Custom. We'll see that up center stage in just a moment. But right now we got a 1966 Lincoln Continental Custom Topless Roadster.
I don't think you've ever seen one like this. All of the gleaming paint is now flat black. The wipers have been removed. The windshield has been chopped. and lowered here. Nice diamond upholstery. It is a two-door, of course, so no suicide doors for the back. The flush convertible top boot. And I don't know how big those wheels are. I'm guessing they are 24s. But boy, they sure give this Lincoln a menacing look.
Yeah, this started life most certainly as a coupe. They chopped the top off. They didn't do four-door or two-door Lincoln convertibles. I believe they were all four-door during this period. Unusual, but no top on this thing whatsoever. No hard top, no soft top. This is a permanent convertible, so better not rain on you. That flat paint is definitely a cool look.
Yeah, for that we call it a roadster rather than a convertible as a car without a top. There's a video screen in the center of the console. Automatic, big block engine, automatic transmission, of course. So be a real nice parade car, wouldn't it?
Still has the stock 462 cubic inch V8 under the hood. They did replace all the wiring, went through, polished all the chrome. So, you know, maybe people think this is sacrilege to chop off a coupe like this, but it certainly has a neat look.
Now this is cool. The wheel centers are gyroscopic. They are weighted so that as the car goes down the road, the wheel center does not turn. That's an option, believe it or not, you can order at the accessory counter at your BMW or Mini dealer. Not sure you would, but you could.
Well, and Rolls-Royce does that too. You can see down the side, of course, everything's been shaved and smoothed as well to where you can really see that cool body line of these 60s Lincolns.
In fact, I think Rolls-Royce started that trend, and after all, who owns Rolls-Royce? BMW.
Away it goes, $50,000, flat black, 462 cubic inches under the hood, a clean $50,000 for that 1966 Lincoln Continental Custom Topless Roadster. Rolling up onto the block, that 1972 Chevy K5 Blazer Custom.
Boy, I liked this one a lot until it got right up to the top of the auction block, and we see the big lift that has been done to it. The rear tires almost touch the rockers. They're so large. 6.2 liters under the hood. But the bodywork on this looks fantastic.
Oh, absolutely. So, yeah, this is a big, hot car at Barrett-Jackson in the last few years. The K5 Blazers, the customs, have the LS under the hood, but restored to such a high level and then customized with that LS3 430 horsepower. Obviously, jacked up way in the air, but these early K5 Blazers are the ones people want because you can also have the top removed. This one has the hard top currently on it with a beautiful two-tone.
Here's your all of your sensors, your throttle butterfly, and individual injectors for every cylinder. Makes this one of the most efficient engines that you can put in a vehicle like this when you have individual cylinder port fuel injection like that.
You know, one of the interesting things that they've done to this is they've moved the driver's seat back 3 inches. So if you're a big guy, you can get into this and feel nice and comfortable because you got a little extra leg room inside this big Blazer.
Saw the power running boards there deploy, and this one's a CST badge on the side too, so it's the luxury trim, or at least they added it. You can see the beautiful houndstooth seats in there. Really beautiful presentation.
You know what else is up in the air? The price.
Yeah, we're at $160,000, and I think we're still moving.
Well, look at the quality of this build. I mean, every piece of stainless trim and chrome trim is either replated or brand new. Right down to the screws holding the headlight bezels. This is just gorgeous. Well done.
Yes, there are several consigners, and all they do is build Broncos and Blazers to bring to Barrett-Jackson, and I imagine that's what this is. They do a beautiful work, and they're rewarded for it with the prices. As you can see right here, almost $200,000.
Boy, I am stunned. These have really come into their own.
When you talk to builders, like this, they say it's 1,500 hours invested in this. You talk to them, and they'll say, what percentage of that was the paint and body work to get it to this level? A big percentage is what it takes to make it look this good. And it just sold for $195,000, a 1972 K5 Blazer Custom, 430 horsepower under the hood. and it almost rocked the block at 200K. Coming up, how about a 2005 Ford GT? 5.4 liter, yeah, it's perfect. I love that color. And away it'll go pretty soon here at Barrett-Jackson. Big money. Mac, it's going to take over $100,000 now just to break into our top 10. This 1967 Ford Mustang Shelby GT 500E currently bid at $134,000.
Well, we see plenty of Eleanor tribute cars go across the block, and they always do well, but this one they took a risk by painting it yellow instead of like the movie car in silver, and that's why they call it Yelenor. But very attractive, I think, in this yellow on black, kind of bumblebee look, and under the hood, a 427 big block V8. So a very, very nice Eleanor.
Tell you what, I like it. I mean, I love the pepper gray. I think it's a great color, but seeing this is different. And right now, we're at $165,000, and this is the number 3 sale of the day. And of course, it's got all the look and the performance as well. And I've got that 427 cubic inch. It's a stroke small block, pumps out 450 horsepower.
And I am looking inside, and I do see the Go Baby Go button on there in the movie, which was nitrous. So they did do some faithful parts of the movie, if not the color.
$165,000 for that Mustang Shelby GT 500E. Let's check in with April Rose.
Hey Rick, I'm with this 2024 Hummer EV SUV Edition 1 VIN number 1. Those are the kind of trucks that come through Barrett-Jackson. That is wild to think that this is the very first one of these electric Hummers. Now, Hummers are known as gas guzzlers, not this one. All electric, 0 to 60 in about 3.5 seconds. I love this light bar up here that just lights up with Hummer. You got the hidden H right there in the headlight. Now, there's a lot of call-outs, a lot of Easter eggs to the Apollo moon landing because GM helped build the rovers for Apollo 11. I want you to see down here in the speaker, this is a topography map of the Sea of Tranquility, where Neil Armstrong's boot is right there where they landed. It is such a cool ride. You got the infinity roof up there, and look at that, Santa's got a new ride, baby. Now it's all finished off in a moonshot green matte exclusive to this SUV edition, and it has a 3-motor 4-wheel drive system with close to 830 horsepower. And one of the coolest features, Rick, is the crab walk, where it completely moves diagonally. All 4 tires go to that 45-degree angle, which is great for parallel parking if you live in a big city.
Absolutely. It is a beast. It is an expensive beast. Not a lot of people have them. A lot of people want them. We also, by the way, that today are going to see Hummer VIN 001 cross the block, and I'm sure that'll bring big money. And once again, it's that time of the day. You better bring a big checkbook if you want to get into the game on Saturday afternoon. 2010 Rolls-Royce Phantom closing in on $150,000.
Yeah, this is another beast right here, but a luxury beast. Sort of the last of the dinosaurs, a giant convertible from Rolls-Royce, and knew this would have been every bit of $400,000 or more. So a bargain when you think of depreciation, even at the high price right now. The quality on these things just unreal. 6.75 liter V12 powering it too, super smooth.
$149,000 for that 435 horsepower, 7-speed Rolls-Royce Phantom drop head coupe. 2019 Mercedes-Benz GTR up on the block right now.
Yeah, these are really cool. Mercedes building sort of a tribute to their racing variant of the AMG GT that you'd see in the IMSA race series. Now, these came out about 2016 with a 4-liter V8 twin turbo under the hood. So gone was the 6.2-liter V8, but it wasn't lacking for power. And by the time you got to the R, well, this one, 577 horsepower. Also has a rear-mounted dual-clutch 7-speed transmission. So a very much a hot rod Mercedes that you could almost call a supercar.
Truly it is. What I love about this is how they've gone back and they emulate up front that look of the grille from the original 300 SL. I mean, this just looks mean and lean as it's going down the straight. You know, so many people, especially over the, from the 1970s through 2000, really just equated SLs and, Mercedes sportier cars as just luxury tours. This car changes that direction and says, no, we're a race car.
And when they offered the AMG GT, the outgoing car was the SLS, the Gullwing powered, which is actually, or the Gullwing doored car, which is actually the same base as this, but they lowered the price dramatically, made it quite a value when compared to, say, a Lamborghini or Ferrari, and this car could keep up or pass that. The R's were a little bit more. Their MSRP was probably a bit higher than what we're seeing in the current bid, so this might be a buy for someone.
And of course, this once again is part of the racing program for Mercedes. I mean, obviously we know they're in Formula One, but they're also in GT racing. So they've come to the point that they accept they're more than just a luxury car maker. They're a race car company as well. $135,000 for that GTR. Let's check in with Craig Jackson, company CEO, for a 58 Corvette.
We have a 1958 Chevrolet Corvette Custom. Now, this 58 has had everything done to it. Go through the list. It has an LS3 in it. It has an Art Morrison chassis. It has C7 suspension underneath it. Ride Tech coilovers to adjust the height. Ultimate headers on it. It has an electric hood actuator. Now, as you look under here, the valve covers, the way they did the injection system on it, it looks very stock. Around this whole car, the leather interior inside, very custom. The list goes on and on. It looks very stock, and that's really what a resto mod should look like. It is truly a fantastic build.
Back here at Barrett-Jackson, big horsepower equals big bucks. This 2023 Dodge Challenger SRT Hellcat Last Call Black Ghost Edition currently bid at $165,000. Exactly what it sells for, 807 horsepower under the hood. And away it goes to a brand new owner. Remember, they'll pay that plus a 10% buyer's premium. Now, moments ago, even bigger money crossed the block. A 2020 Aston Martin DB11, 630 horsepower coming out of that 5.2-liter twin-turbo V12. This sold for $250,000. That is the #1 sale of the day so far here on Super Saturday at Barrett-Jackson in New Orleans. All right, up on the block now, a 2024 Hummer EV SUV. This is Edition 1 VIN 001.
Yes, April did such a great job previewing this earlier. It's hard to top that, but just look at it now, all lit up when it's come on the block, that Hummer grille there. Of course, Hummer started life as a military vehicle, the Humvees you would have seen in Operation Desert Storm, and then they were eventually sold to the civilian market. In the early 2000s, they made the H2, and then the H3, and these are all gasoline-powered cars. They kind of became the symbol of excess in the United States, gas guzzlers, things people didn't need, so when the recession hit and the cars did get bad gas mileage, they kind of went the way of the dodo bird. But General Motors, to their credit, loved the brand and sort of as a troll to everyone, brought the Hummer back as an EV, but still serious performance on these things. Over 800 horsepower, but the torque with the electric cars is really where it's at. 11,500 pound-feet of torque, which is just absolutely insane.
Yeah, I remember a long time ago when we first started talking about electric cars, everybody was concerned that they just wouldn't have a lot of power, that they really wouldn't have the performance that we can get out of gasoline. And guess what? These electric cars have so much power that comes on so quickly, they actually have to detone them so it doesn't just snap your neck back.
Yeah, we saw Craig come down earlier and buy a Last Call Challenger, not the one that just sold recently, but Craig also has one of these in the truck version. He actually took me for a ride, and the torque is just absolutely unbelievable. It feels like you're launching into outer space like April showed on the door panel with the Apollo 11. The torque and the acceleration is just unreal for the size and weight of this thing.
Yeah, it is an amazing engineering achievement. It's a marvel. $157,000 the current bid, and that is what it sells for. This 2024 GMC Hummer EV. It's an Edition 1 VIN 001 to those folks right there. Write the number on the sticker, and away it goes here at the Convention Center. Back here in New Orleans, the Barrett-Jackson Collector Car Auction, our inaugural trip to, whether you call it the Big Easy or the Crescent City. It's a great place to have a lot of fun, enjoy some great food, and this week enjoy some great cars as well. The last 3 cars that crossed the block, you see what they sold for, everything over $100,000. You want to break into the top 10 right now, it'll take at least $135,000. And up on the block right now, a 1967 Chevelle Custom.
Yes, of course, the 396 was the standard motor for the Chevelle in 1967. We're a few years away from the 454, but that's what this has under the hood, although a very hopped-up version of it. Over 600 horsepower, and then you see a lot of cool other custom touches, both with the suspension, the bigger brakes, and a laser-straight, beautiful black body.
Much bigger wheels and tires than it was born with. Bayer disc brakes at all 4 corners. Make you think that the street racing that this one did might have included corner carving as well as straight line. Very nice straight body. Black is so difficult to do right because it reflects every flaw. And boy, they're hard to find on this one. A lot of great paint prep, a lot of great paint went into this one. And
big
the number,
love here in the room. Look at this, $260,000. And that is now the #1 sale here at Barrett-Jackson on Super Saturday in New Orleans. The 1967 Chevelle Custom, 627 horsepower out of that 454 crate engine. Let's check in with April Rose.
So many exciting things happening. Now, this is coming across the block in just a moment. 1963 split window. Now, in 63, it's the first year of the C2. They had the spine-divided rear window, but people didn't really like it. You couldn't see out the back, so they only made it for 1 year, and now it's rare. Now, you couldn't get a big block 427 in 63. It didn't exist yet, but now it does, and this one has a 427 LS7, completely modernized with electric 4-speed automatic transmission, 4-wheel independent suspension, disc brakes all around. And since it's a slimmer LS7, they didn't need to bump up the hood like the vintage big blocks. So the only tell is that period correct fuel injection badge on the fender. Rick, you know, I hate to see these go, but you love to watch the split windows leave. It is a beautiful view from the back.
1-year body style, and we'll see it up on the block before very long. All right, up on the block, something pretty rare. A 1968, this is a Mustang, 428 Cobra Jet. But this one's a lightweight.
So the first 50 cars that came down the assembly line all looked like this in 1968. They were all fastbacks. They were all white with black interiors, and they all had the big 428 Cobra Jet engine, and these cars were missing some sound deadening and other accoutrements so they could be as lightweight as possible. Why? To go drag racing. In fact, my friend Jim Wicks tells me that if we can look at the VIN tag here, the serial number plate, look at the 5th digit from the left, and it will look like it was perhaps stamped afterwards, because it was. These were stamped with the 5th digit point blank because when these cars were built, they didn't know what the code for this engine would be. There were only 50 of these. They were built sequentially. This is serial number 044, and the serial number after the R starts with 135, then 044. So these are collectively known as the 135 cars. There are only 50 of them. They just about all went drag racing. Very special, very rare.
Yes, to your point, Mike, a very special car, and it does have a cool story. It was indeed raced in period, bought new and then raced for about a decade before it was taken off the road. And then they did this beautiful restoration to how it left the factory.
And that Mustang lightweight is sold here at Barrett-Jackson for $150,000. That 428 Cobra Jet. Right behind it, we got a 1970 Pontiac GTO Ram Air 3. It's a convertible.
So the Ram Air designation was put on several engine upgrades all the way up to Ram Air 4. And what that meant was you got extra components inside the engine, and these hood scoops were made functional on the Ram Air cars, because that's what Ram Air is. Actually, air goes through those scoops and into this very specially manufactured air cleaner to feed that big 4-barrel carburetor atop the Pontiac V8.
Yeah, I was looking over this car with Craig Jackson earlier on the live stream for Barrett Jackson, and this was one we definitely wanted to watch because it is so unusual. One of 174 GTO 400 Ram Air cars, 4-speed manual, and the color is very unusual. Usually you see these in a bright orange or bright red color, but this one sandalwood, so a gold, but it looks really good with the judge stripes. I think the yellow and green gold, it sets it off really well. Very 70s.
Yes, that's an 8-track player down there below the dash, sitting on the transmission hump.
Cars to have air conditioning. Very original underneath. Comes from Dennis Collins. Beautiful car. This belongs in a museum. It is truly a timepiece.
Well, and one of the things that they were promoting back then was what they called the Pontiac Safety Track. It's a special kind of differential, but just a limited slip that we think of today. But for back then, it was one of the promotion keys for this car, talking about how special it was.
Craig has been right all day, ladies and gentlemen. At 90,000, at 85, at 90, at 90,000, at 90,000.
Now, if there is one criticism of this car, and it's not much, it has been driven, it's seen some use, a little bit of patina, but still a very rare, very special GTO. I doubt you'd find another one like this.
Yeah, it's got its Pontiac Historical Society paperwork, an owner's manual, a reproduction window sticker, all kinds of nice touches.
And it was optioned with factory air conditioning, which was very rare apparently, one of just 24 convertibles.
Very nice cosmetic restoration with the rare combination of a 4-speed Ram Air 3 and air conditioning, which in Texas, where this car lived, you certainly would want. Rare color combination, 8-track tapes not included.
Well, that lady up in the skybox looked like she was in it for quite a while and just shook her head, said no. But I've seen many times when they lean back and go, okay, well, let's try it one more time. And suddenly they come away the winner despite having said, no, I'm out.
And the consigner, the seller is up on the block, Dennis Collins, which you saw earlier. Craig Jackson bought the Challenger from Dennis Collins. He is from Wiley, Texas, where he probably found this one in a barn somewhere. He has a great YouTube channel, Coffee Walk, where he finds all kinds of amazing cars. I wonder where he dug this one up.
All right, remember a moment ago I said people say they're out, then they're back in? This lady you can see on the right-hand side, she shook her head, said I'm out, no thank you, and now she's back into the game again.
Can be underneath and absolutely gorgeous. This is a buy the auction right here.
So nice cosmetic restoration. There it goes.
$100,000 and even $100,000. Won't make our top 10, but a solid sale here at Barrett Jackson on Super Saturday. Tell you what, if you don't get good food in New Orleans, you aren't trying hard enough. Boy, there's no shortage of great restaurants here, all kinds of great food. I'm thinking beignets tonight. Maybe that'll be my dinner. You never know. 1965 Lincoln Continental Custom Convertible, already bid to $110,000.
Whoa, this is a much lowered beauty. It's got a Gen 2 5-liter Coyote V8 underneath, all computer controlled, everything gleaming in black inside and out, 4-door convertible. Beautifully done.
I love how they put the LED lights in the front, gave it a modern treatment there. You can see there's some glow in the turn signal area, but obviously lowered, probably air ride to where it's dropped on the ground, but also staggered. You got a wider stance in the back so you can hook up with that Coyote.
And this was a full-size car. Look at all the legroom that's present here in the back as well as the front seat. Lincoln was a trendsetter, and this was a trend that nobody followed, having the back doors on their four-door convertible open from the front. So as it rolls to a halt, why would you do that? Well, it's because it makes getting in and out of this car so much easier. To the finest restaurant in town, James, and step on it.
And these cars, they appeal to multiple generations. Of course, these were the presidential cruisers of their day, but then they're still used in pop culture in a lot of movies, TV today. Entourage is the show I think of where his crew would cruise around in these, the HBO show. So there is a very wide group of buyers and enthusiasts for these, and the customs usually do very well. This one certainly is $135,000 already.
Got internet bidders involved. We got bidders on the stage. Elwood Angle is the guy we can thank for this. They wanted to get rid of the Continental, and Elwood said, no, let's just restyle it. Make it a little better, a little smoother, a little more subtle, and that's exactly what they did. $135,000 for this 1965 Lincoln Continental Custom. Well, we just want to share one programming note with you. Drive now has a new name. It's called Torque. All the same great programming, same great people, and of course, the same great content. So tune into the History Channel on weekend mornings and also on Sundays on FYI for Torque. Up on the block now, a 1967 Mustang Eleanor Tribute Edition.
This would be built especially for New Orleans. Got a documentation folder, and again, it's a licensed Go Baby Go. It's absolutely killer. Joseph, let's sell this bad boy, Eleanor.
Well, you know that you've seen the movie, you know the drill, and you know what the car is all about. This one has a whole big binder full of restoration receipts and kind of done very faithful to the movie look. Of course, the Go Baby Go shifter that was described earlier, the pepper gray metallic with black stripes. This one officially licensed, and just a sharp underneath. Here's the nitrous bottle behind the rear seat. Cool.
And it's always interesting to see what motor choice they do for these Eleanors, because we do see quite a bit of them. A lot of Coyotes. This one, though, we go back to the 429 big block, but it had all those individual throttle bodies on it. He started up a little rev across the block when it came up here to sell. Sounds really mean.
So just a word about that. When you bring your car up and you park it at the local drive-in and you rev the crap out of the motor to get everybody's attention, and then you shut it off, you know what that does? It lets all unburnt gas wash down the sides of the cylinder, past the rings, into the sump. It may sound great, but it's not doing your engine any good.
Well, we got multiple bidders still going in this. We got somebody in the skybox, somebody in the floor, somebody up on the auction block, and a new #1 sale. We're at $300,000. According to Consigna, this one looks just as good down below as it does up above.
Well, here between the Ford Thunderbird taillights, Eleanor Tribute Edition, and the documentation is here on the back window, signed by Denise Helicki, whose husband Toby created the Gone in 60 Seconds franchise, that she has endorsed this one, and we're at $350,000.
Yes,
and
this
still
is
moving.
Still going, yeah. This is far from just a body kit on a Mustang. There is so much put into this car, so many little details. You can also see, if you look in the back glass, there's the nitrous and the button for the Go Baby Go, just like in the movie when he wanted to jump over all the cars in the bridge. But beautiful, beautiful car.
Is this the ultimate Eleanor ever? Hard to say, but it just sold here at Barrett-Jackson in New Orleans for $400,000 for that 1967 Eleanor Tribute. Those folks up there in the skybox all getting congratulated. They were obviously in it to win it all the way.
Go, baby, go, indeed.
Okay, from one extreme to the other, from a 1967 Eleanor to a 2023 Maserati MC20.
Well, this is the car I mentioned in our show open way back at noon, that I've never seen one come to the auction block. This was really quite a gamble on the part of Maserati to move their product line into Ferrari territory with this mid-engine supercar.
And you have to wonder if they were worried about Maserati stepping on Ferrari's toes and going with a V6 twin-turbo instead of a V8. I suppose the new Ford GT is a twin-turbo V6 as well, and nobody really complains about it. But I feel like this car, most Maseratis come with that Ferrari-derived V8 that everybody talks about. Will they do that eventually with the MC20? But still, plenty of horsepower with the twin-turbo V6, 630. So I imagine it feels plenty fast.
Well, the current mid-engine Ferrari in showrooms today has a turbocharged V6 and not the V8 of, say, the 488 that preceded it. But the tail lights, that's a Maserati signature feature, goes back to the two-door coupes that they've been selling now for almost 2 decades. But wow, this is a beautiful piece of artistic sculpture in addition to being a supercar.
But one thing this has over a Ferrari is the doors go up. You have these beautiful butterfly doors to give you that supercar kind of look. And you see driver's focus instruments in the center console, beautiful carbon fiber steering wheel and Alcantara as well, and those big paddle shifters. Beautiful car.
Well, there it goes, $230,000 for that 2023 Maserati MC20. That color, Grigio Mistero silver with that beautiful red accent. Off it goes. Well, Craig Jackson was previewing this for us a while ago. A Ford GT, this is from 2005, but this one's special. It's a Hennessy 1000.
Todd Hennessy's company has done great things with a number of great cars. Now, the Ford GTs were made in such limited number over a couple of year period here that it's kind of odd that a tuner would turn his attention to a car that already was very rare and valuable. This car has the stripes, it has the red calipers, the painted calipers, may have the Macintosh stereo, does not have the BBS wheels. Those were the only 4 factory options, but it's what Hennessy has done to this car that really makes it super.
Yes, they have the supercharged V8 from the factory here, but then Hennessy added twin turbos to feed into the supercharger to give it 1,000 horsepower. And when Craig was driving it, I thought he was a pretty cool cucumber with this thing. I'd be screaming like a banshee the entire time. But actually, to the previous owner's credit, this car does have 19,000 miles on it. So it was driven and used, which is unusual for us to see in a Ford GT. Most of the ones crossing the block have, well under 10,000 miles.
And we've got a new #1 seller. It's at 420. It looks like it's still moving.
Hennessy badging on the tail, identifying it as an HPE 1000. A little bit of Gurney lip to the spoiler here. Yes, that's another tribute to Dan Gurney, who came up with that for Indy cars at the back of the wing. Just a little lip for additional downforce. Notice how the exhaust protrudes through the bumper and big arrow underneath. Wow.
Now you can also see in the rear grille this curvature going around here, which obviously we need to get the turbos coming out of the exhaust to turn back into the supercharger. So you see an extra little twist there you wouldn't see on a normal Ford GT. Craig Jackson mentioned that it sounded a little muffled. He has a car and it sounds a stock car himself that he bought new, and he couldn't hear the supercharger as much, but obviously the power, unbelievable.
Well, it's believable if you got $450,000. It's going to that gentleman right there, who I think is also the guy who bought the Eleanor a few minutes ago. So he decided he wants to upgrade his garage in a really big way. The new #1 seller, a 2005 Ford GT Hennessy 1000, $450,000. Well, behind it, we're going to go exotic, a 2020 Lamborghini Huracan. It's an LP 640. It's a 4 Evo.
So the Huracan came out almost a decade ago, and they've had several versions of it, but this one is certainly the hottest, the 2020 Evo, more of a track-focused racing version, and these, the V10, over 600 horsepower. This one, a wild color, too. Verde Mantis, so verde green in Italian, mantis like a praying mantis, gray color.
So don't say Hurricane, because Huracan, like every Lamborghini model name going back to Miura in 1966, is named for a strain of Italian fighting bulls. And you'll see the bull in the logo of Lamborghini on the nose and tail here. And yes, this one is Huracan.
And one unique touch to this is the forged carbon fiber, which is everywhere throughout the car. You can see it really well in the spoiler here. A lot of cars you see the weave carbon fiber. These are sort of forged, just sort of baked, that gives you sort of this marbleized look. Very attractive.
5.2-liter V10 engine paired with a 7-speed dual-clutch automatic transmission. This is an awesome car, ladies and gentlemen. A Lamborghini 17,000 miles.
Didn't you have a Lambo in your collection briefly?
I have never had a Huracan. I go older, so I currently have a Countach, which is a dinosaur compared to this thing. The V10 came out with the Lamborghini Gallardo in 2004, and it was the first sort of mass-market Lamborghini, a huge seller. It was the best-selling Lamborghini of all time until this. Huracan's been around for a while. They've sold many of these cars.
And then this one just sold for $260,000. That guy's doing high fives all the way around. He looks pretty happy to come away the winning bidder at $260,000. Now, we just saw one Ford GT cross the block, that Hennessy 1000, and that sold for more than $200,000, $260,000, I think was the number. Now up on the block, another Ford GT from 2005.
So the original Ford GT back in 1964 or so, born on the bones of Eric Broadley's Lola 6 GT, was called the GT40 because it was 40 inches tall. Ford sold the rights to that name, so when they brought this back for 2005 and 6, they couldn't call it a GT40, and that's okay because it was no longer 40 inches high. The catalog paint scheme is this, white with blue, because those were the assigned American racing colors for international racing back in the 50s. Here are the BBS wheels, painted calipers, stripes, and max stereo, all 4 options.
Yes, all 4 options, and this one about half the mileage of the Hennessy GT we saw earlier. So we were really curious if the Hennessy performance options added to it would add any value, would it take away value, and we'll find out live right now because here's a completely stock one, a little bit less mileage, so it would be more desirable, apples to apples, if that were a stock, the red car. Very interesting, but this is one of my favorite cars that I have ever driven because that 6-speed manual transmission is fantastic. You have that supercharger right behind your head that revs up, makes an incredible noise. Just watch out for the doors when you're getting out.
I agree. These are very docile to drive in slow-moving traffic even. The only downside of this car is there is no rearward vision and no rear-facing camera. So, but if you're driving this, you're going forward and fast. You're not backing up.
$380,000 for that 2005 Ford GT. That means of our top 5 sellers today, 2 of the top 3 are Ford GTs. That one right there, basically a stock from 2005, and of course that 2005 Hennessy 1000 that sold for $450,000. 1958 Corvette Custom up on the block.
Now this car right here is the definition of resto-mod. It has been restored to gleaming original spec as a 58 Corvette, but what is underneath is anything but. There's an Art Morrison chassis, much bigger wheels and tires than it was born with. New engine, transmission, all very different and all very modern compared to the 1958 fiberglass that surrounds it.
All right, let's take a look at the chassis cam as it's going across. We know it's been done beautifully. It's got that LS3 crate engine connected up to a 4L60E top loader automatic transmission, professionally built. There you see the exhaust going back, perfect in just about every way. It's just as pretty underneath as it is up on top.
I'd say this is the finest resto-mod of this year's New Orleans sale right here.
Oh yes, I'd agree. And even the LS3 V8 got a lot of touches on it. You know, normally it would just sort of drop it in there, but this one has all the dress up and the individual throttle bodies, sort of a vintage touch on it, even though it is the modern LS V8. And that interior, once again, very, very nice resto mod where you have the modern gauges but fitting into the original positions.
Whoa!
You said it's the best. Everybody agrees with you. We just blew past $500,000.
That's incredible. 1 year styling touches like these chrome-plated tusks. They were here for 58, went away for 59. So truly just a 1 year unique body style. And what a build, $600,000.
And guess what? The guy who bought that has the other two cars that are in our top three. Today he has bought a Corvette Custom, a Hennessy 1000, and that Eleanor Tribute. Yeah, he spent just a little bit of money here at Barrett-Jackson in New Orleans, especially for this 58 Corvette Custom convertible. Here in New Orleans, we got a 2023 Corvette Z06 up on the block.
So the Z06, the super performance version of the C8 mid-engine Corvette. This one in ceramic matrix gray, an off-white color with just a tinge of blue.
And these are legendary because they're the most powerful naturally aspirated V8 car offered today. 670 horsepower thanks to that flat plane crank V8. They reportedly reverse engineered a Ferrari 458 to build these, and they are amazing driving cars, just crazy quick.
Blue chip car for the future. They're not going to make these forever. This is an opportunity right here. It's past the 6 months, legal to buy, great car, great colors.
So what Craig Jackson is speaking of is when you buy one of these from your Chevrolet dealer, Chevrolet puts a 6-month embargo on the title, similar to what was done with the 2017 and up Ford GTs. So that period has gone, and the original owner has put 3,000 miles on this car, and now it's ready for a new home.
Well, you could actually sell the car, but you would lose the warranty. So it was legal to sell. You wouldn't get sued like some people did with the Ford GTs. They were trying to discourage people from flipping them. But this one I also like because it's a coupe. The convertibles, it covers up that beautiful engine and intake there. But on the coupes, you can look through the back glass and you can actually see the engine.
And this one has been driven, according to the consignor, less than 3,000 miles on the odometer.
What would the sticker have been on this? Pretty close to what's bid now?
Well, yeah, base price would be around this. This isn't a Z07 car or a 50th anniversary, which are the two big options. Very hard to get. The Z06 already hard to get. Those options even harder.
$137,000 is all it took if you wanted to buy it here at Barrett-Jackson, that Corvette Z06 from 2023. Let's check out our fantasy bid game brought to you by Dodge. See who is leading overall. Keith R. continues to hang on to the lead. Mark, Jason, Steve, and now Brad has worked his way into the top 5. The overall winner, once again, you know what they get? A brand new 2023 Dodge Charger. You're looking at it right there. Good luck to everybody who's playing. We're coming towards the end of the game. Remember, we've been playing this since January, the very first auction of the year in Scottsdale. 1963 Corvette split window up on the block.
So when this was introduced in 1963, like in the 58 Corvette, there were 1 year styling touches. These grills went away after 63 because they weren't real. It was just a stainless applique on top of the fiberglass hood. The other thing that went away are these faux air extraction vents here on the pillar. They didn't do anything either, and they were gone after the first year. Same for the split window in the back.
Well, fuel injection was an option on the 63 Corvette, but no big block yet. You got the 396 in 65, the 427 in 66. This one is saying it's a 427, but you look under the hood, it's an LS-based 427, so a modern Corvette engine. But this one's, I would say, is pretty stealth. Other than the engine, doesn't look like it has many modifications visually to a normal 63.
No, another beautiful resto mod. The way this was styled, this spine on the roof is meant to emulate the Stingray's tail, and that's why they continued it straight through there and had a split window. But buyers would look up in the rear view mirror and they would see their view blocked. So after 1 year, this went away, making these split window coupes of 63 highly prized today.
Yes, you can see the knockoff wheels when you go inside. It also looks very stock. You see the clock in there and the vertically mounted stereo. very stealth on this thing. I would say it's barely a resto mod just from visual.
Look at that shift lever, the little grab handles there underneath that black ball. You had to pull that up to engage reverse.
Well, it just sold, came close to $200,000, $190,000 for that 63 Corvette split window. Barrett-Jackson.com, the place to go to if you want to see all the cars that are crossing the block today. If you're just tuning in and you missed a couple of the hours that we've already been presenting, well, you can go and see what the car is sold for, check out all the prices. In fact, you can research prices from years ago. That's the great thing about the website. How about a 64 Corvette? This one's a convertible, custom.
Yeah, and this had the upgraded engine. You can see the cast aluminum valve covers. This one has been treated to a Sandon air conditioning compressor, a little more modern stuff, 4-barrel carburetor, and just behind the air cleaner, that oddly shaped chrome piece, that is for suppressing ignition noise so it doesn't get to the radio. Now, what we call day 2 modifications, they've added side pipes to this, and they've added the knockoff turbine wheels to this 64 that, again, it presents as stock, but nicely resto modded underneath.
Yeah, it is a really cool custom because you get that old school 327 driving experience this car would have been born with the side pipes coming out, but you get power steering, power brakes, modern air conditioning, and the Tremec 5-speed, which is a big game changer for these if you want to go modern highway speed with these cars. They'd be revved up pretty high, going 75, 80 miles per hour, no problem with the Tremec.
Now, a lot of day 2 or 3 mods, people would put a third tail light on their Corvette so it looked like the Chevy Impala, but no 63 to 67 Corvette ever came with triple tail lights.
Much easier to see the interior here on the convertible, which I love this generation so much. You can see the clock centrally mounted that sort of mimics the tachometer and the speedometer, and then that vertically mounted stereo going down to the Tremec 5-speed, which is sort of stealthily put in there. Looks like a stock 4-speed. Very well done.
You know, a nice subtle thing they've done. This car was originally satin silver. They kept it that way. A nice homage to the original car, the way it was produced. And once again, that guy very busy. $200,000. I know that's at least the 4th car that I've seen him buy today here at Barrett-Jackson. All right, we've seen our fair share of Lincoln Continental convertibles. We got another one up on the block from 1966. This is a custom again.
Well, another variation on the same theme, huge wheels and tires and a lowered suspension, giving this Lincoln a very menacing look. Of course, the suicide doors, plenty of room for 6 inside this convertible, and the flush boot cover so the top does not extend above the trunk line when the top is down. Very beautifully styled.
It does have the stock 462 V8, and it does have air ride as well,
stainless
so
and
drops to the
trim.
ground.
A lot to like here, Rick.
Well, what a day it's been here on Super Saturday at Barrett-Jackson, New Orleans. Quality of vehicles just never, ever disappoints. Well, welcome to the world's greatest collector car auction, the inaugural Barrett-Jackson, New Orleans auction, right here on the History Channel. Of course, we got a great team for you. Mike Joy, Tyler Hoover, April Rose. I'm Rick DeBrule, and of course, we're missing our buddy, Steve Magnante. He's dealing with some health issues, can't be here with us. We just want you to know, Steve, we're thinking about you, and every time a car crosses the block, we think, boy, Steve would have more knowledge about this car than anybody else. He'd be looking for some interesting little detail that the rest of us didn't quite notice. So, Steve, we're thinking about you. Look forward to you being back up here on the block. Right now, we got a 1966 Lincoln Continental Custom.
Yeah, I feel like a little bit like the flunky substitute teacher compared to Steve Magnante, who would be a full PhD in tenure as far as a professor. But I am having a lot of fun up here. So like I said, this Lincoln does have the stock 462 V8 under the hood, but you can see the custom wheels, and this one is bagged. It has airbag suspension, so it can be raised up 3 inches above ride height or slammed to the ground.
Well, Tyler, Steve would be the first to tell you, we're all here to learn. And we get to learn about these cars. The consigners fill us in. We share what we learn and what we know, and we try to get it right. But what a gleaming piece this is. Gorgeous black paint, gleaming stainless, re-chromed bumpers, huge wheels and tires. And you know, I like this look on the Lincoln. It's been lowered, slammed right to the ground. What a great look.
we go, $87,000 sold on the floor. We had an internet bidder involved, but that gentleman right there comes away the winner at $87,000 for that beautiful 1966 Lincoln Continental Custom. It's Corvette time. We've had a number of them cross the block, and it seems like every one that crosses is almost more spectacular than the one before. How about this, a 1967 Custom with 427 cubic inches under the hood.
Now note the color scheme, black with a Marina blue Stinger. If you got a big block engine, you got the Stinger in a contrasting color, often, but not always, matching the interior color. So there were, I don't know, 25 different color combinations, and veteran Corvette collector and NASCAR team owner Rick Hendrick decided he wanted one of every color combination of car and Stinger. And if I'm not mistaken, this was the hardest one to find because less than 10 were built in this color scheme. And the one that Dale Ledbetter found for him had been repainted because it had been sale-proof in these colors. So here it is. Don't know if it was born this way, but boy, is it sharp.
Yeah, that's hard to imagine this wasn't a popular choice from the factory because it does present so well. So it's a custom. May have not started life as a 427, but it has it now. It's been modernized. Poly injection and intake, so way more power from stock. Definitely a slightly different variation of the knockoff wheels here, probably to make room for modern brakes, but still that side pipe exit exhaust, iconic to the 67 Corvette.
And once Rick found one of every one of the color combination of big block Stinger coupes, he said, that's great. Now let's do the convertibles.
It's great when you got plenty of room for that kind of thing. $135,000, the hammer price for that 1967 Corvette Custom. All right, in just a little bit, we're going to see a car cross the block, sell for a very important cause, and here's April Rose with more about that.
Throughout the years, Barrett-Jackson has raised millions of dollars for charity, with 100% of the hammer price going directly to each great cause. Now, this auction is no exception, and I want you to meet this charity car with the name of Honolulu Lulu. A 1932 Woody Hot Rod Custom. It's got a Chevy small block, turbo 350 trans, bright yellow paint with custom touches throughout, a surfboard, and it even comes with Little Lulu, your very own trailer. Now, this charity car was generously contributed by longtime friend of Barrett-Jackson, George Shin, with every penny raised going to Samaritan's Purse, aiding their endeavors in disaster relief to those affected from the devastating wildfires that struck Maui this August. It's a unique wagon and a great cause, all coming together here at Barrett-Jackson.
There it is, out in the staging lanes. We'll see Honolulu Lulu hitting the block at the bottom of the hour. And once again, all the money going to raise for help for the wildfire victims in Maui, helping Samaritan's Purse.
So first, George Shin, great philanthropist. Second, Samaritan's Purse is a great cause. Third, who was Honolulu Lulu? We'll tell you when the car comes up.
Up on the block now, a 2018 Corvette Z06. This is a carbon 65 convertible.
Yeah, this is a car that a lot of people didn't even know that Chevrolet had built. It was a very limited edition, part of the build-out of the C7 Corvette, the last front-engine Corvettes to be built. And again, here's this ceramic matrix gray, little blue tinge to it, very pale gray, almost an off-white. Very sharp car, very limited numbers.
It will be interesting to see what the legacy is of the C7 Corvette, the last front-engine Corvette. I think we're seeing a bit of that legacy in the price now. Stock 650 horsepower. This one also special because it only has 2,500 miles. So investment quality car right here if you're looking for a C7.
Well, they only built 650 of these. There goes one of them.
That goes away for $115,000. The Summit Racing Soul sticker goes on, and away it goes at $115K. Don't forget, you'll also, if you're buying that, have to add a 10% buyer's premium. When you check on the website, by the way, and you do see prices, you'll see them slightly higher than what we call the hammer price, and that's why, because 10% is added to the price. So if you ever have any questions about what it's sold for, that explains that. 69 Camaro RS SS convertible.
So the RS treatment with the hideaway headlights could be ordered on any Camaro. But if you ordered it on an SS, the SS or Super Sport badging took precedence, and this car does not show externally with any RS badging. But the important thing is that big block under the hood.
Yes, the 396, everything looking pretty stock on this thing other than the added air conditioning. So this is a pretty mild custom here. You have air conditioning and all power options sort of modernized there, but otherwise you get the vintage driving experience of a 69 Camaro with the big block.
Redline tires to complement the red on red upholstery of this 69 convertible. 69 would be the last year you could buy a Camaro convertible for a couple of decades, at least from the factory.
And we see a lot of red with this SS, with the exception of that little white stripe down the front fender and door, and then the white top as well. So not only is it a mild custom that was made to be a lot more drivable and comfortable, but a gorgeous restoration.
All right, now Steve Mignotti can't be with us, but I do have a pair of his glasses, and let me see if I put them on, what it'll do for me. You know, through the 1960s, the 12-bolt rear end on these Camaros was preferred for higher horsepower cars over the 10-bolt the rest of them got. But that changed for 1970 because Chevrolet developed a new 10-bolt rear end where the ring gear grew from 8.2-inch diameter to 8.5-inch diameter. The piston gear shaft was increased to the same diameter as the 12-bolt, so the new 10-bolt was way better than the old 10-bolt and almost as good as the 12. They work. They really work. Steve, we missed you. Hope you're back soon.
What just happened? Oh my goodness. Are you okay? Wow.
I think so. I think I've lost my focus, however.
$83,000 the current bid for that 69 Camaro RS SS convertible. Gotta love that colored garnet red. Got a dark red look to it. They roll back the bid just a touch to 82, make sure they got the right number, and away it goes. That 1969 Camaro RS SS convertible, 396 cubic inches, 350 horsepower.
And by the way, beginning 1971, all Camaros got the new 10-bolt rear end, including the Z28.
Glasses really work. We just wanted to share one programming note for you. Drive now has a new name. We're calling it Torque. All the same great programming, same great people, and of course the same great content. Tune into the History Channel on weekend mornings and also on Sundays on FYI to watch Torque. Up in the block right now, a 2023 Ford Raptor R pickup truck.
Well, we've been talking about the Raptor all day and about its imitators from Ram, but this is something different. This is a Raptor R.
That's correct. So the current edition of the Raptor before now only got the EcoBoost V6, and when the Ram TRX came out with over 700 horsepower, the Hellcat motor, it kind of put the Raptor down a peg. So they came out with this, the Raptor R, which got the GT500 motor, the Shelby motor, detuned a little bit to just over 700 horsepower, wide body treatment, and you can see the R is red on the Raptor with the graphics, and then the sort of dinosaur skin, the scales on it have a little V8. That's sort of the motif with it. V8's hidden everywhere. This is another truck that is very hard to get new. Base price $110,000 MSRP. They're selling for over that, as we just see right now.
$120,000 the final price for the 2023 Ford Raptor pickup truck with less than 100 miles on the odometer. Well, coming up in just a little bit, we're going to see a really nice Corvette, like we have seen so many of them, but check this out. A 1958 Corvette convertible, 283 cubic inches in that V8 small block. Welcome back to our inaugural Barrett-Jackson collector car auction here in New Orleans. We're going to check in with April Rose.
Hey Rick, I'm in the staging lanes with this beautiful 1967 Corvette. I love the bold look of the Stinger hood. That is just iconic with the two-tone paint. Now in 67, they removed the Corvette script up here on the hood. And if you see the louvers on the side of the fenders right here in 67, they got more of a modern boxed off look. I love that. It's really incredible. Now this restoration took a while. They did a great job. It's got the 427, 400 horsepower, tri-power 4-speed manual, and everything's been kept original except the exterior silver pearl paint. The interior is all original and spotless. Beautiful blue, teal. I mean, this car was really well taken care of. Now, Rick, everyone has their favorite year of the Corvette for the C2. Mine's the 63. A lot of people like the 67. What about you?
To be honest with you, I am a 67 guy because it was the ultimate evolution of that mid-year Corvette. Yeah, the 63 special because it's a one-year body style, but boy, gotta love that 67. Up there right now, a 1973 Ford Bronco. It's a Sport Custom.
This one is a mild custom Bronco, and you can see the slight lift, which gives you an eye at the modern suspension there, the Fox reservoir shocks. Under the hood, a 302 V8 with an electronically controlled automatic transmission, but overall presents as a very stock truck. I love how they use the steel wheels and the normal lockers for the hubs for the four-wheel drive in a cool orange color as well. Presents looking stock, but underneath, very modern.
Very extensive restoration. It is not disclosed, but we assume it's an original body on this one, but with a full restoration, you're going to pay 6 figures. Take it home.
Yeah, full price, $100,000 for the Hammer, another $10,000 for the buyer's premium. Away it goes. Love the fact that they haven't cut out the wheel wells there, so you got the stock wheel well size. Up on the block now, a 1961 Corvette. This one has 283 cubic inches, 245 horsepower.
Well, no resto mod here. What you're describing is a dual quad Corvette. That was the top horsepower for the year with the dual 4-barrel carburetors. The wheel covers are standard. And as a 61, we're going to get the painted headlight bezels, not the chrome ones that preceded it. And you're going to get the Stingray style cam back rear end that we would see on the Stingray. There are those dual quads underneath the air cleaner. 2 4-barrel carburetors. There is the ignition noise suppression, so that doesn't get to the radio. The ram's horn exhaust manifolds, all looking very nice and very stock presentation. This car has been NCRS judged by the National Corvette Restorers Society.
Yeah, on a Corvette restoration, it's very important to get that pedigree with these Corvettes. Of course, the body style changed in 1958, added the dual headlights, and by the 60s, they were kind of winding down the bling as it was falling out of fashion. That's why it's one-tone all black, beautiful tuxedo black. I think it looks fantastic.
Less than 4,000 miles since the restoration, and look at this trim line and how it carries around to the back in this bulge. That previewed what was to come in 1963 when the Stingray made its debut. That whole back end was pretty much lifted from the Stingray and applied here to the 61 and 2.
Yeah, and with the first generation Corvette, you get the trunk with this big, beautiful pearl badge here. In the C2s, you would flip that up for the fuel tank, but on the first generation Corvette, it's on the driver's side, cut out right here to fill up, much like a normal car.
110. I thought the auctioneer was going to hammer that one sold. One person came in at the last minute, bumped it up. We've got a phone bidder, we got a bidder on the floor, and we got another bid.
Now this one retains its original gauges, so you have the big speedometer here with the odometer, and right here is the tachometer, but down at the bottom of the tachometer, that's an engine hour meter, as you'd see on an aircraft engine. Pretty cool. It's too bad it didn't last.
$110,000 for this Corvette. We're going to take a quick break, and we will come back to New Orleans. Inside the convention center here in New Orleans, they're selling cars all day long. You see some big numbers across the block. Just a moment ago, that 67 Corvette that April Rose previewed for us sold for $123,000. Right now, we got a 1958 Corvette. The current bid is $82,000.
So the first year for the, if you want to call it C1.5 styling cycle, with the big teeth in the grille, with the chrome bezels for the headlights, with the washboard hood, those fake louvers, and with the chrome tusks on the back, both of which were, the latter two were 1-year styling features only. The big full wheel covers, this one's been treated to later Redline tires, but all the stainless and chrome is gleaming. But the big interest here is what is under the hood. This is a Fuelie. That is the Rochester fuel injection that was optional on these cars. I've driven them, and boy, they are sweet. They are smooth. There is no big gas tip-in like with a big 4-barrel carburetor. Back in the day, these were somewhat troublesome and problematic and tough to tune, but now there are folks that just specialize in rebuilding these units, making them easy to work on, and a real pleasure to drive. So make my Corvette a small block and a Fuelie, please.
Yeah, 1958, this thing was pumping out 290 horsepower. That was the big story of the year with that fuel injection. Ultimately, Corvette decided and Chevrolet decided, you know, we can do better with the carburetors, and we didn't need the problematic years later. But at this point in time, one of the max horsepower, this was it.
Yeah, I'm afraid the bean counters got involved, Rick, because carburetors were a lot cheaper than fuel injection to produce and to maintain.
And customers weren't really thrilled with them either. To your point, you know, they were problematic in terms of keeping them tuned just right. So it was make the customers happier, and it made good horsepower. I mean, you got to remember, you know, at the glory days when you're making 450 horsepower, how much more did you need? Well, now today we know we need more. $97,000 for that 1958 Corvette. And they put the Summit Racing Sold sticker goes on, and away it goes at $97K. I love the fact the sticker's on there. As you walk around the convention center and look at all the cars that have already sold, you know what the price was. 1969 Mustang. This one is a 428 Super Cobra Jet drag pack.
Well, you see the shaker hood. This also has the slats on the rear window, and it has the spoilers front and rear. So drag pack is a particular group of options. The easiest way to spot it, I don't see present anymore, and that's the oil cooler that would sit in front of the radiator. Here instead we have an air conditioning condenser and an electric fan. If that oil cooler is present, it's hiding somewhere in plain sight. But here's the 428 Super Cobra Jet, big high horsepower unit, a red Mach 1. And unlike the one we saw earlier, this one has the correct striping. It's a 3M Scotchlite. And you may get an idea here, it is black in the daylight, but if you shine a bright light on it, it will reflect white. And it was kind of sold as a little bit of a safety innovation, if you will. There were only 34 Mach 1 Super Cobra Jets produced with the drag pack in 1969. So a very rare high-performance Mustang indeed.
335 horsepower coming out of that. Of course, the big dog that year was the Boss 429 that pumped out about 375 horsepower out of that 429. But this was a massive performer in 1969.
Can we light up that stripe with your camera light, see what it reflects? It should reflect white. It looks black in the daytime. A little bit of a look at it. It's going to reflect white at night.
Yeah, you can see that, I think, in the light. And like your point being, you know, as somebody would come up behind you, it was almost like we have the center high-mounted safety lamps that we've got today. It was a way of making the rear of your car just a little more visible. Well, it came close to $100,000, $90,000 for that 1969 Mustang 428 Super Cobra Jet. Behind it, a 1970 Chevy C10 custom pickup truck.
Well, this is a popular treatment back in the 1990s when there were no less than 4 monthly magazines devoted to trucks, both stock and modified, both lowered and slammed or raised for off-road, and it's called dip painting. It's as if the entire truck body was dipped in one color of paint. So from the factory, that grille would have been an off-white, the bumper would have been an off-white or chromed with the option, and here everything is all all of a color. Yes, there is still a little bit of chrome trim on this, but not much. There is a big supercharged LS engine underneath, an LS3 crate engine, and that is a 2.9 liter Whipple supercharger up on top to give this thing plenty of grunt. Love the way that it's been lowered. I like the NASCAR style exhaust exiting here just in front of the rear wheels. And I like that the bed has been redone in wood, but then stained to a very nice silver gray. Really complements this car well. NASCAR style spoiler at the top of the tailgate. Oh yeah.
Tell you
like
what,
this.
if you're looking for one of the Action Line trucks from this generation, I think you'd be hard-pressed to find something better than this one. I mean, you look at all the body work that's been done, all the details to this.
Well, the Cup Series is at Talladega tomorrow, and yeah, this looks just like right out of Daytona and Talladega. A metal spoiler with these rods to help maintain the mandated spoiler angle that was in effect at the time. LED tail lamps, a roll pan in the back instead of a rear bumper, bed liner on the side walls of the bed inside, and that great gray paneling inside. Wow.
A 4-link rear suspension. It's got Ride Tech control arms, coilover shocks, 4-wheel disc brakes, Willwood master cylinder. There isn't anything on this that has not been touched.
Grabber blue. You know where this would look great? In my driveway.
Well, you just missed your chance. $80,000, the hammer price on this 1970 pickup truck. All right, now we're going to sell a car for a great cause here at Barrett-Jackson.
In the video.
This is Franklin Graham, and I just want to say a big thank you to George Shin and his wife Megan for providing this 1932 Chevrolet Woody called the Honolulu Lulu. The proceeds of this car are going to help Samaritan's Purse in Maui. Samaritan's Purse will be working there for several years to come. We're just grateful for the support of George Shin, and it means a lot to the people there in Hawaii. Thank you, and God bless each and every one.
Steve? We want to announce our special speaker here. Obviously, let's give George and Megan a round of applause, please. New Orleans welcome for some great, great people. George's got a heart big as this building, as his wife does, Megan. George and Megan, can't thank you enough. We got a very special speaker here, Edward Graham, COO now. He's got a promotion since the last time he was on our stage of Samaritan's Purse. You want to say a few words real quick for us?
There we go. I appreciate Barrett-Jackson and George and Megan Shin. Thank you so much. Thank you for letting me turn the mic on. This is an incredible opportunity, but we appreciate, more importantly, those that are hurting in Hawaii still. The cameras have left, and those are still suffering in Maui with the fire there. Samaritan's Purse is still working, like we're doing in several countries, to meet the immediate needs of those that are suffering, but more importantly, share the gospel of Jesus Christ, that Jesus loves them. But George, thank you for making this possible, and we appreciate the friendship also with Barrett-Jackson. Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely, and as you can see, we have this incredible 32 Chevy Woody custom wagon, turbo 350 transmission. Everything about it, it pretty much speaks for itself. We could talk all day about the car. Bid from the heart, not the wallet, and everything you get 100% is going to go to this amazing charity. And folks, again, every time you look at this, when you get it home, you'll think about all the people in Hawaii that's being helped by this amazing cause. So a bid from the heart, not from the wallet. Of course, if you have a fat wallet, we're going to help you lighten it up a little bit, hopefully. So let's
go, Joseph.
And they need some mic.
Barrett-Jackson does so much for charity. They've raised over $150 million over the years for various causes. And George Shin out of Charlotte, North Carolina, great philanthropist. And I'm from the area of North Carolina where Samaritan's Purse is headquartered. They have done so many great things for so many underserved areas. And it's a very efficiently run charity. So you write your check directly to Samaritan's Purse, no buy fee, no sell fee, no commissions of any kind. And take this beauty home. So Honolulu Lulu was the title of a Jan and Dean song back in the Surf City days, and she was the queen of the surfer girls, and lent her name to this beautiful Woody.
Yeah, it's got a small block, beautifully done. I love all the woodwork on it, custom word, and especially the custom graphics, and the trailer's included. Now, you see there, it says Honolulu Lulu on the back, and if you go to the back of the trailer, it says Lil Lulu. So I love the fact that they've kind of played with it. There it is, you see it right there, with the surfboard on the top. So the two were created together to be together. $100,000, every penny going to Samaritan's Purse, which will be helping the relief efforts in Maui.
Back too.
And they're donating the car back.
Yes.
Let's sell it again.
And on top of that, they're going to throw in another $100,000, George. Give them a round of applause.
So I'm sorry I cut
Tracy
you off, Steve.
Patterson.
Who is it that donated the 100?
Michael and Tracy Patterson. Our
Thank
best
you very
world
much.
VIPs, we love you.
Let's sell it again, Joseph.
Here we go. All right, how to get down, Jamie.
Well, we see this happen on more than a few occasions at Barrett-Jackson. Somebody bids for the car and they say, you know what, it's such a great cause, we're going to donate it back. Because ultimately, the goal is to raise money for the great cause. And that's exactly what they're doing here again. Remember, the car just sold for $100,000. You heard the Pattersons are going to throw in another $100,000. We'll see where this finally ends up in terms of donation for this organization.
Congrats to Dan Newmeyer Designs. He did the lettering on this, the bamboo spelling out Honolulu Lulu. And the picture of little Lulu on the back, she was a comic strip character back in the 50s. So well done. $75,000 raised on top of the $200,000 already pledged. Here's George Shin.
I'm making an additional $50,000 gift. And I call my dear friend Rick Hendrick, and he's also donating $50,000. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Thank you very much.
I love New Orleans.
I think we're at a total of about $375,000 to help Samaritan's Purse. Once again, all going directly to the cause. As Mike mentioned, the check is written directly to Samaritan's Purse. There is no commission, no extra fees taken on top of it. It's a great cause. We see it happen so many times here at Barrett-Jackson. Up on the block now, we've got a 1967 Corvette C10 Custom.
Well, here's another that's been dip painted, where everything is body color. In this case, Summit White. But this one has a 502 big block under the hood. And a lot more modifications. I can see brand new glass, new weather stripping. So this is a very fresh build.
Yeah, the truck has been tubbed as well, so that rear end is much wider to hook up. You can see the bed, well, exposed and painted to show that rear end. You're not hauling anything in this car except hauling butt.
Well, when we say tubbed, what that means is to fit real wide wheels and tires and keep the body profile down the side stock. What you have to do is increase the width of the wheel tubs here. Now, they've conveniently left this open so we can see the 4-link coil-over suspension and that big strong rear end that'll get the power to the ground. Another NASCAR-style spoiler. In fact, it would not surprise me if the builder of this truck is the same as the builder of the Grabber Blue truck that preceded it on the block.
Yeah, no tailgate on this one, nothing to fold down because you wouldn't put anything in the bed. It's all fused together. Bumper deleted as well, and you can see that fuel cell sticking out on the bottom there. This is a full-out race truck.
When that last truck rolled across, we talked about the fact that just about every piece of it had been touched. I didn't think it was possible, but I think even more has been done to this one. And I love what they've done in the back, where they've exposed the rear suspension.
And I got to say, with it all sort of fused together here in the bed with the tailgate, you can see the lines of the C10 and how beautiful they are and why it lends itself so well to customization like this. You see C10 pickup trucks in so many different variations, whether it be lifted, whether it be slammed to the ground. It basically suits any purpose. I can't think of many other vehicles that are as versatile as the C10 chassis pickup truck as far as pulling off just about any kind of build you'd want.
$77,000 for a 1967 Chevy C10 pickup truck with a 502 cubic inch V8 under the hood. Barrett-Jackson.com, the place to go to see the full list of cars that are crossing the block today, and also, of course, all the cars that cross the block during the course of our Barrett-Jackson auction excursion to New Orleans. So if you missed some of our coverage yesterday, you can go back and see what the cars sold for. Up on the block now, a 1954 Chevy Custom pickup truck nicknamed the Shadow.
Well, you can see everything that has been shadowed on this truck in the front. No chrome grille, not painted, just a sort of satin finish with the gray interior and a 6-liter LS under the hood, but sort of a vintage throwback air cleaner and intake there. This one really well done. But of course, the older body style, a step side 54.
Another one from MS Classics in Seekonk, Mass. And the cars they bring to Barrett-Jackson and trucks, the paint is just off the charts, gleaming. And I wish we had time to tell you everything that is new and has been done with this. It's just been dropped over a brand new frame, much larger wheels and tires, 4-wheel disc brakes. And on top of that, it's an incredible build. And it's just a great looking Restomod.
I can see more shadowed out thing, of course, the wheels. It all is the matching color. The badges, old 3100 badge, the mirrors, the trim around the windshield. But in the bed, at least this one still has a usable bed. Not that I would ever think you'd use this as a truck, but they have the oak inserts, what you would have found when this truck was new. That's about the only thing I see that's stock other than, well, some of the body panels.
Yeah, the tail lights are much more modern than the round ones that would have stuck out from the bed on each side. Boy, forged wheels. You don't see those big forged wheels on pickups very often. This is just beautiful.
By the way, this is the very last fantasy bid car of the day, or I should say truck of the day. So pretty soon we're going to find out who the winner is. And look at this number. I wonder if he predicted this, over $250,000.
Well, I am noticing one body modification. There's no fuel filler neck off the cab. They actually relocated it back here very stealthily. A little popper right here to put fuel in the back. I imagine modern fuel tank in there, but almost didn't notice it. It's so small.
And this is a 5-window. Most of these pickups were 3 windows, but a lot of drivers said there was a big blind spot here, so Chevrolet introduced a 5-window option. That's what we see here. That's the one you want.
Tell you what, it's still going. Thought it was going to hammer at 275, then it bumped up to 280, 285.
It's just another amazing example of how customs is just the sky's the limit at Barrett-Jackson. If this were a stock truck, no way $300,000 would be possible. But with this build, definitely deserving.
$300,000 for this 1954 Chevy Custom pickup truck, 630 horsepower, nicknamed the Shadow. And the very last of our fantasy bid cars. We'll find out soon who the winner is. And coming up, how about a 1965 Shelby GT350R recreation? And according to consignor, they used a lot of the original GT350R parts sourced directly from Shelby America. You know, every Barrett-Jackson is really just to look at automotive art. Whether it's the logos, the paint jobs, the styling, it's the history, and it's a perfect blend with the history of New Orleans. That's exactly what we have for our inaugural visit to the Crescent City. Up on the block right now, a 1963 Thunderbird. This one's special, though. It's an M-Code Sports Roadster.
Yes, the M-Code got the 4-barrel carburetor and the high compression 390, and it's one of only 37 M cars made. Original MSRP of $6,286. So a very rare Thunderbird of an era where the Thunderbird, I think, got pretty again. Of course, it came out in 1955, went to 57 with the original Baby Bird. Then the Square Bird was, well, kind of awkward, but when they came back with this sort of futuristic jet design, well, it was a smash hit.
Well, the interesting thing about the Square Bird is while it never had the great following that the Baby Birds had or even these Bullet Birds, it sold like gangbusters back in the day in 58 and 59 and 60. It just sold great numbers. Having said that, I'm with you. These are just beautiful cars, whether it's the Bullet Bird, the Flare Bird, either way, the long deck. And, you know, we see so many with this sports roadster tonneau cover, but this, according to Consigner, is a real deal sports roadster. The way it goes at $83,000. You see somebody up in the skybox. Congratulations to them. Once again, they'll write the number on that sold sticker. And as I pointed out, when you're walking around here at Barrett-Jackson, you get to see all the sold stickers. So if it's already sold, you know what it's sold for. You'll still have to add 10% for the buyer's premium, but at least you get to know. Well, let's look at what's about to cross the block with their Meguiar's on-deck camera. How about this 1966 Jaguar E-Type Series 1 Roadster? We'll see it center stage very soon. Right now, it's a 1965 Shelby GT350R recreation, the same one we previewed just a little while ago.
So this Mustang already started life as something special. It was an A-code car, so a mid-level 289 and a fastback. But somebody went and took it further, made it into an R tribute. So the old racers of the day, the Shelbys and such, that's what this car is paying a tribute to. See the Cobra valve covers under there. Still a 289.
Strut brace here. There's a Shelby serial plate that has been riveted on here over the serial number that was on this fender to start. Cobra valve covers, a lot of great period touches and some modern ones as well. Terlingua Racing Team. This was kind of a Carroll Shelby invention, this sticker. Terlingua is a little town in Texas where Carroll would have the annual chili cook-off for who could make the hottest chili. And yes, that is a fierce fighting rabbit that is the logo of that tongue-in-cheek racing team.
Well, in fact, Carroll Shelby was one of the original investors in Chili's restaurants. I believe it was his son-in-law who helped to start that. So there is a big chili connection with Carroll Shelby.
Well, Carroll put his name on a lot of things. Did you ever have a can of Carroll Shelby Pit Stop deodorant? I did. How do you not buy that, right? Don't worry, it didn't survive. I don't have it anymore.
What did it smell like? Was it very musky, manly, or?
Well, like everybody else's spray deodorant. No, it was, just a generic rebranded thing for people to have some fun with, and we did.
Well, there were 37 Shelby GT350Rs built back in 1965, of which I think 100 are left. And this is one of those recreations. Away it goes. We'll check in with April Rose.
Once upon a time in America, cars were made like this. 1949 Cadillac Series 62. I love the look of the split window coming all the way down to the Cadillac Goddess right there. Just such a neat, iconic feel. Now, if you come down the side, all of this chrome, beautiful Cadillac Art Deco styling on the side, more Art Deco here on the back fender. And I want you to take a look at those fins. They're very important. These were the first car to have them. Now, Harley Earl styled them to resemble the World War II P-38 Lightning fighter planes and started the fin craze. Now, this Cadillac's got the 331 V8 4-speed automatic. Inside, all the stitching is correct. It has a beautiful ivory wheel and all the metal in the center right there. That's actually the speaker grille with a beautiful Art Deco Cadillac emblem with wings just above it. And check this, Rick, it even has power windows. Back in 1949, that was a luxury.
Love it, and it's amazing the journey those fins took from 1949 to their maximum in 1959 in Cadillac. We'll see that up at the block soon. Meanwhile, that Jaguar E-Type Series 1 up on the block right now, currently bid at $95,000.
There are a few cars that look better with their bumpers than without, and this is one of them. If this was raced, you'd get rid of the bumpers because you didn't need that weight, and it would look something like this. This car does come with a British Motor Industry Heritage Trust certificate, and we can see how beautifully it's been restored. Look at all that nice new sheet metal underneath that forms the inner wheel wells and shields the engine. The dual overhead cam 6-cylinder with the triple SU carburetors that you'll find on these early XKEs. Henry Manny, writing in Road and Track magazine when the Jaguar E-Type was introduced, called it the greatest crumpet collector known to man. Make up your own punchline.
Well, 1966 is a great year because you get the Series 1 look, but you get the dual carb or triple carb 4.2 liter. And this one, it sort of has the D-type, sort of the racing look to it with the side pipes and the bumper delete. Really, really nice.
Well, I'll tell you what, the folks up in the Skybox are ecstatic they came away the winners on that one. They got the second one that they've come away with, but they were even happier about that one. Apparently, that must be the car they really came to get, that Jaguar Series 1 E-Type Roadster. Up in the block right now, a 2013 McLaren MP4 12C.
Well, of course, McLaren, a legendary F1 racing team, they never built cars in big production numbers until this, the MP412C. Before, there was the McLaren F1, or the SLR McLaren in cooperation with Mercedes, but this was their first full production car, and it was quite a smash. 3.8-liter twin-turbo V8 in the back, crazy acceleration. You can see the butterfly doors as well. 2013, the second year of production with these.
You know, McLaren went to great lengths when this car was introduced to make sure that it got out to all the journalists to use them as daily drivers, because this car was sold and promoted as the first use-it-every-day supercar.
But there were some growing pains in the first few years of production. I had a 2012, it was the first year, and they had a swipe to open the door, sounding like an old iPhone, where there was no button. You would have to swipe the bottom, and if your hands were cold or there's any kind of wetness, the doors wouldn't pop. So they added the button in 2013. Also, reliability was a bit of an issue with these, so they did offer an extended warranty with them. My car, it went through 1 engine and 2 transmissions, which is pretty crazy, all under warranty. But by the second year, I think this year, they had things pretty well sorted out, and it is a marvel when it comes to technology.
Note the light there, which kind of forms the daytime running light, and that is in the shape of the McLaren logo. That's a pretty cool touch. A lot of exposed carbon fiber, engine under glass. And look at the exhaust. You know, Steve Magnante is all about the art of the exhaust, and McLaren takes it to a whole new level. There's no exhaust pipes down there in the diffusers. The exhausts are up here, right above the bumper.
Currently, we're about a third of the price of what this car would have been new. It was so cutting edge 10 years ago. And these cars are sort of a victim of their successors. McLaren, after a couple of years, came out with the 650S, then the 675, the 600, the 720S. Kind of like how you update technology with your phones. You don't want to drive the first iPhone, but it makes for an incredible value.
Yeah, I had to leave McLaren spotting to my son Scott because it seemed like they were coming out with a new model about every 6 weeks for a while.
Well, less than 5,000 miles on the odometer, and it just sold here at Barrett-Jackson for $100,000. 2023 Corvette 3LT up on the block.
Well, LT in Corvette parlance, every option has a 3-character alphanumeric designation, and the LTs were for interior trim level. You start at 1 LT, you go to 2, and this is 3LT, which is the most developed, most luxurious interior offered on any C8 Corvette. Now, one really cool feature here inside on the console is the row of switches are here right between the driver and passenger on the right edge of the console. That's interesting, and they're very accessible to the driver when they sit here, but I understand the feedback on these has not been great, and Corvette is considering doing away with that row of switches and relocating them for 2025.
Part of the thing about this car, as much as I love it, and it's a great car, there's literally almost nothing not to like about it. It's really such a driver's car that I sometimes feel the passenger's kind of sequestered off to one side because of the way that console comes up and wraps around. So the passenger almost feels like an afterthought in there.
Well, I had a Z06 Corvette, which was just such a big light-year leap ahead, and I definitely got what you meant about the passenger feeling isolated with that big center console. I could take it or leave it. Obviously, it's sort of a throwback to the second-generation Corvette that had the center-mounted stereo or vertical-mounted stereo, which they kind of did in here.
Well, there it goes, a 2023 Corvette 3LT sold here at Barrett-Jackson for $80,000. Congratulations to the folks in the Skybox. And away it goes. Remember, they'll pay $80,000 plus a 10% buyer's premium, and they get to take that car home. We're going to take a quick break here in New Orleans. We will come right back with all of the fun that we're having in the Big Easy. All right, it's the moment of truth. We've been talking all week about the fantasy bid brought to you by Dodge. So let's find out who has come out on top after all 4 of our Barrett-Jackson auctions. And yes, the same guy who started the day at the top of the charts finishes at the top of the charts. Keith R. with more than 10,000 points. And guess what? It just so happens he's here in New Orleans. He's standing by with April Rose.
Keith, congratulations. What a monumental moment. You've been playing this Dodge fantasy bid all year long. I want to know what your secret is.
Coming to the auction, doing inspections on the cars, talking to people. I mean, it's been a great experience.
I bet. Craig, how difficult is it to pinpoint how much a car is going to go for? Because the custom, there's all different resto mods. How do you put a price on it?
Well, we do it every day, and I'm up there all day long looking at how we're doing and our estimates to what the cars are bringing, but without giving up our secret sauce, you figured it out. And it is, you got to look at comps and what other cars have brought, but you also got to look at market trends, where they're coming up or whether they're coming down, and you got to pinpoint that spot in time.
That's true. Now,
nutshell.
Now you won this 2023 Charger. What are your plans?
I'm going to drive it. Absolutely.
We're going to need a set of keys.
Thanks, Craig. Appreciate it. Thanks, Barrett-Jackson and Dodge for doing this contest. It's been a great experience.
Such a huge moment.
You do this throughout the year, and we were all like, we're pretty sure if you come here, you're going to get it. But we threw some wild cards in for you just to make it a little more difficult. Threw a little European in, threw the Hummer in with the VIN 1 that had sold previously for charity, but you navigated it.
And Craig, we might have to hire him because he knows his stuff.
He's good. You want a job, you can come be one of our appraisers.
There you go. Congratulations, Keith. Such a great moment here at Barrett-Jackson. You never know what's going to happen. You might just come home with a brand new car. Rick, I'm going to go back to you at the block.
All right, thanks a lot, April. I like that. The guy got a car and a potential job offer out of it. But it's important to point out, he did say he's been at every one of the auctions this year, starting with Scottsdale. And he came here specifically so he could do his homework and understand all the cars that are crossing the block. Like this one, a 1963 Chevy Impala Custom.
Wow, what a great restoration and customization here. And of course, a Corvette small block under hood. They've taken all the badging out of the grille, although it is pretty faithful to what was there originally. The base coat, clear coat paint is not. It's a deep, gleaming emerald green, huge 22-inch hoops, but the stock Impala trim is all there. So very nice resto mod here.
Yes, most certainly. You saw that LS under the hood. It was quite lonely. There's nothing on the firewall because the Wilwood disc brakes, they hid the master cylinder in the dashboard along with everything else to give it sort of that beautiful presentation. The 63-64 Impala is just gorgeous with that triple taillight set up there. And you can see the machine turn finish, or sort of it stamped out in the taillight section there.
Yeah, that was the hallmark of the Impala, so everybody knew that you paid up for the top-of-the-line Chevrolet from 1958 all the way to at least 1969, except for 1959. There were triple taillights. They weren't all round, but there were triple taillights in every Impala except for the 59.
And just before this came up onto the block, they were raising and lowering the suspension, the air suspension, to show the crowd here it's working exactly the way it's supposed to.
You just can't explain how much work goes into shaving a firewall like that and making it flush without any tubes or wires or hoses or implements sticking out of it in one direction or the other. Well done.
$65,000 to those folks right there for that 1963 Impala Custom. That color, by the way, candy organic green. That's glow green to me. Looks nice. $65,000. Rolling up behind it, a 2013 Bentley Continental GTC.
By 2013, we were 10 years into the Bentley Continental GT, which was developed by Volkswagen Audi when they acquired Bentley around the new millennium. By 2013, you had this second generation convertible version, and you had different engine options. Initially, you'd only get the 6-liter W12 twin turbo, but they also offered a more modest 4-liter twin turbo V8. I believe this one, though, is the W12.
So the clue is the background of the Bentley B, both at the grille
I'm
and
wrong, it's
at
the V8,
trunk.
I'm sorry.
Exactly. The red indicates the V8, whereas black, blue, or green would indicate different horsepower levels of the W12. Nobody does leather like Bentley. Look at this gleaming base coat, clear coat, diamond blue paint. Now, isn't that an interior you'd just love to spend the whole day in? I would.
Yeah, it's hard to think that they needed to economize the Bentley Continental GT, but fuel prices were quite high. Obviously, you don't give up anything in the interior, but the serviceability of the W12 was certainly a challenge. The V8, still had plenty of power, but much easier to service and a little better on gas.
$80,000 for a 2013 Bentley Continental GTC.
Now listen to this. Just listen to this door shut. Is that the sound of solid or what?
It is,
this
exactly.
thing is just beyond gorgeous.
Yeah, beautifully done on every level. All right, rolling up behind it, 2005 Maybach 62. Let's ask the man who owns one or owned one. You still have one?
I still have it. I bought it in Houston last year, so I'm celebrating a year of ownership with my 62. These are incredible cars. New, they're about $400,000. It looks a lot like an S-Class, but it was built on its own platform. Got the twin turbo V12. Mine has a partition, sort of like a limousine. This one doesn't, but the 62 is the stretch version. And, well, there's sort of a big depreciation special because they didn't look special enough. Even though the build quality was off the charts like a Bentley or Rolls-Royce, which this was supposed to compete with, it looked too much like an S-Class, a little too sedate. But this one has a two-tone treatment, so it does look a little more special.
Unless you believe that Tyler Hoover's a guy who's just oozing money because he's such a big YouTube star, you spent the night in one of these at a truck stop, didn't you?
I sure did. So I did a video with Jay Leno at Jay Leno's Garage with mine, and then drove it to Scottsdale for the Barrett-Jackson auction, and then drove it home. I slept in a truck stop on the way back. The reclining rear seats, the sunshades, you close them all up. It's very comfortable back there. I sure didn't need a hotel room, no way.
This back door is a city block long, and look at all the room in there. Again, a modern version of a car in which you are meant to be driven, not drive.
Well, in fact, when they were showing them to some of the journalists initially, they didn't want them to drive them. They said, get in the back, we'll drive you around. That's what we want to talk about. $51,000, the hammer price on a 2005 Maybach 62. 2022, I should say. Bronco Hennessy Velociraptor 400. This is a custom SUV up on the block.
Yeah, another Hennessy conversion of the Ford Bronco. This time they spelled out Velociraptor all the way across the bumper here. Number 31 out of a planned 200.
Yes, the Bronco Raptor came out this year, so I suppose Hennessy seized on the opportunity to make their own version of the Raptor, and they used the 2.7-liter EcoBoost in this one, so the smaller EcoBoost, but I imagine they were able to tune it quite a bit. This one also optioned with a soft top instead of the hard top. You can see all that folds back in a way to where you can have a full convertible. So it started off as sort of a mid-level trim Bronco, but obviously the wide-body treatment, the lift and everything makes it look like a Raptor.
The Hennessy treatment ups this V6 to 405 horsepower with over 500 foot-pounds of torque. You know, if it weren't for Jurassic Park, no one would know what a Velociraptor was.
Well, you know, in fact, when they originally came out with the Raptor Ford editions, I think it was 2010, I always wondered, do they mean the Raptor as in the bird or the Velociraptor? Well, in this case, Hennessy's clearly spelled that out for us. $80,000 for that one. 1949 Cadillac Series 62 rolling up on the block, and this is the one that April Rose previewed.
Well, my favorite year and a milestone car. It is so recognized by every one of the classic car societies. This body style debuted 1 year earlier in 1948. But this was the year that the Cadillac overhead valve V8 debuted. and it instantly became the engine of choice for hot rodders. Briggs Cunningham took 2 cars to Le Mans to race in the 24 hours with this engine. And until the small block Chevrolet, if you were building a hot rod, you wanted one of these Caddy overhead valve V8s.
Yes, before that, in 1948, you had the same body style, the birth of the fins, but you had the flathead V8. So 49 brought a whole new generation of mechanics, along with a whole new generation of styling, and that's why this thing won all the awards when it was new, including the Motor Trend Magazine Car of the Year. It was the very first Motor Trend Magazine Car of the Year, as a matter of fact.
Well, you have to think about what Cadillacs looked like just a decade earlier. I mean, we were getting out of running boards, and this is such a sleek design in terms of the way it looks. You know, yeah, they had the post-war Cadillacs, the 46, 47. They were just a little clunkier looking. These are so beautiful.
All right, so where does the gas go? No visible gas cap flap. See this reflector? Push that in, lift the tail lamp, and voila.
Yep, working in gas stations a long time ago. If you didn't know all that kind of stuff, you were in trouble.
Gosh, it finally paid off, didn't it?
$45,000. I think that's the hammer price for that 1949 Cadillac Series 62 with that 331 cubic inch V8 engine. Breaking all new ground with that. Coming up in just a little bit, we're going to see a 2004 Viper SRT10. I love this. It's a Mamba edition. Number 26 out of just 200 produced. It'll be up in the block before too long. Welcome back to New Orleans. All kinds of great stuff in this city. Great things to see, great things to eat, and great cars to see this week. Up on the block right now, a 1948 Lincoln Continental convertible.
Of America, full restoration. They made these classics because of how rare they were. They made 452 of these. This is a full restoration on this car. I can't even tell you how much it costs to restore this car with all the chrome on it that's been redone, the leather interior, fabulous car, great cars to drive. It's a flat 12 in it, and the only thing is the price right now.
Now Foley.
So that is Craig Jackson talking about this Pace Car Yellow Lincoln Continental. Yes, one of these was the pace car for the Indy 500 that year. Red interior, 3-speed manual transmission, and a seldom seen Columbia 2-speed rear end, which gave you overdrive in the 2 top gears for highway driving. This car very period correct according to the standard put out by the Lincoln Zephyr Owners Club.
And it's interesting to look at that 1949 Cadillac that just rolled across and compare how modern and sleek it looked compared to this 1948, which was really a pre-war design.
Yep, the pre-war fat fendered look was over in Detroit, except for specialty offerings like this.
Well, imagine you just bought one in 1948 and your neighbor comes home with that 49 Cadillac. I think you'd be pretty annoyed. $45,000, the hammer price for that Lincoln Continental. Well, before the car sell here at Barrett-Jackson, they sell what they call automobilia, fun stuff associated with cars, gas stations, that kind of thing, like this Budweiser Clydesdale, a 10-cent coin-operated kiddie ride. It even plays the Budweiser King of Beer jingle, sold for $18,000. An early 1950s Texaco oil service station, fuel island, a whole fuel island, complete with 2 period Bennett gas pumps, that sold for $40,000. But get this, a late 50s Texaco oil, it's a single-sided porcelain service sign. It's got that animated neon. It even spells out Texaco and then flashes on and off. This sold this morning for $65,000. There is big money in automobilia. You just have to know when and where to buy. All right, from a 1948 Lincoln to a 1966 Lincoln.
Well, this is the 4th Lincoln Continental convertible we've seen in this theme. 462 V8 automatic transmission, 3-speed automatic. Madison Gray Blue is the factory color. Factory black leather interior, air conditioning, power steering, brakes, convertible top, windows, AM radio, and an aftermarket stereo system. Santa Cruz 20-inch wheels on this one, and of course it is very much lowered and looks the part of a real parade float. Lincoln built 3,180 of these suicide door convertibles in 1966, and this one has under 62,000 miles.
And it just sold for $65,000 for that 1966 Lincoln Continental big 462-inch V8. We're going to take a break here in New Orleans, but we're coming back because, well, we still got more cars yet to cross the block. 5 hours of the History Channel coverage. No shortage of great music in this town, and up on the block now we got a 1971 Chevelle SS convertible singing its song.
Said to be an original SS, but also badged as a 454, which means it would have had a heart transplant. Cowl induction hood on this one, column shifted automatic, rally wheels with trim rings. Beautiful bright yellow with black convertible top and black interior. Nicely done, or nicely redone, I should say, subject to a recent restoration.
Yeah, still has its original Delco AM radio. It's got that console-mounted automatic. There's nice Bridgestone radial TAs. It looks the part. I mean, you know, it's got a 136 VIN, so it is actually an 8-cylinder engine. They say it is an SS, although there's no documentation proving it was a true original SS. Hammers down at $60,000 for that 1971 Chevelle SS convertible. Barrett-Jackson.com is the place to go to if you're just tuning in and you wonder, I wonder what else sold today. Well, that's where you can find out. You can not only see the cars, but find out the price that they sold for. Up in the block right now, a 2011 Porsche 911 Turbo.
Well, make this a 2001. It's a 996 Turbo. The 996 being Porsche's first liquid-cooled 911, a deep blue metallic, the fried egg headlights, and aftermarket wheels of a larger diameter added to this one. The big nostrils on either side of the nose identify it as a turbo, as do the big scoops in the rear quarters aft of the door. These were found on turbos only. Sapphire blue over Savannah, or is this lapis blue? I'm not sure if it's, nope, doesn't say on here. But of course, they're all rear engined. The spoiler comes up at speed. These were just incredibly fast cars. They would just chew up the miles effortlessly. Great high-speed touring cars.
Yeah, this one only has 41,000 miles on the odometer, according to the report. No accidents or damages, so it's a fairly well cared for car. It looks nice under the lights. I tell you, once again, if you're looking for a 996 and you're looking for a turbo, not a bad choice. Yes, it's got the fried egg headlights, which of course the 911 purists didn't like because it shared them with the Boxster. But you have to understand that Porsche was going through some troubles at that point in time. And the combination of mixing the Boxster parts with the Porsche 911 parts, you could argue actually saved Porsche during that era and made it profitable so they could continue on.
I think the big problem with that whole idea of it being the same car from the B-pillar forward was it had been done. The Gremlin Hornet, was one such example. The Valiant Barracuda. And each time it had been done on an economy car. Porsche 911 owners did not want their car looking like the less expensive Boxster. And so Porsche ended up changing.
I just can't believe you mentioned Porsche and Gremlin in the same sentence. It's hard to combine those two, but you pulled it off. $53,000 the current bid. We're up to $54,000. Hammer came down at one point, and remember, the hammer coming down does not mean the car is sold. It does not sold until the auctioneer says it's sold. Like he did just then at $55,000 for a 2001 Porsche 911 Turbo. Congratulations to those folks there. Thumbs up, they deserve it. Up on the block now, a 2010 Bentley Continental GTC Speed convertible.
Well, of course, the speed indicates extra handling and horsepower. And in this case, the background of the Bentley B is chromed. There is no color. May have been black at one time, like the rest of this car is. Bentley would call it beluga. We can call it black. And instead of wood trim, it has an engine turn dash. And yes, the background for that B was black originally. But get a look at this dash. Oftentimes we see burled wood inside Bentleys. Look at all of the engine turned metal in this one. That is all part of that GTC Speed package, along with the heavily bolstered sport seats. Wow, very sharp. Thud. Closes like a bank vault.
Yeah, this is the last year of this generation that started in 2008, finished in 2010, and a little bit earlier we saw that V8 that went across, which was part of the next generation. But I tell you what, from the outside, you don't see much difference. It's got that W12 engine under the hood that pumps out such great horsepower. Only 32,000 miles on the odometer, and it just sold here at Barrett-Jackson for $50,000. We're going to take a break. We will come back to New Orleans and all the great cars at Barrett-Jackson. Welcome back to Barrett-Jackson in New Orleans, our very first visit to this city with the auction. There's still good money in the house. Just moments ago, we saw a 57 Chevy 150 sell for $100,000. Meanwhile, up on the block right now, a 2004 Dodge Viper. This is an SRT 10 Mamba edition.
Yeah, Dodge had a lot of fun with their special edition cars. This is one, number 26, serial number 26, out of 200 built and just over 16,000 actual miles. That big SRT V10 with the drop top and the steer it yourself 6-speed. Wow. Still a lot of horsepower and a lot of fun to be had with this one.
Yeah, the Mamba edition really more of an appearance package than a performance package. I mean, it added that, it had the special interior with the red stitching. And the hammer's down at $50,000 for a 2004 Dodge Viper SRT 10 Mamba edition. Let's check in with April Rose.
Hey, Rick, we're standing here in a very special area. We've seen a lot of beautiful cars here in our first inaugural auction in New Orleans. But looking ahead to Scottsdale, it's the big one, Tyler, and we have a little bit sample of what we're going to see.
Yeah, 4 iconic muscle cars selling in Scottsdale right here, starting with the birth of the muscle car right here, a 1964 Pontiac GTO. This is what they were singing about back in the day, and this one is the Tri-Power, the triple carb and the 4-speed. So a fun little small block convertible, little GTO. Next to it, you have a really eye-catching 340 Cuda, one of 30 Cuda's 340s finished in this curious yellow. Once again, a drop top. Both of these cars really speak my language because I'm a convertible guy. I love a drop top and I love a small block. I want to be able to take a turn in addition to accelerating quickly.
I don't know about convertibles. They kind of mess up my hair sometimes. I want the power, okay? I'm talking a big block over here. 1969 Trans Am. Check that Ram Air hood, feeding air all the way into the 400 4-speed. Man, she is beautiful with those blue racing stripes right down the center. Split Pontiac grille. Completely gorgeous restoration. A lot of time was spent on this. But oh, hey, how you doing over there? 1970 Boss 429, Grabber Blue, all the power options, the competition pack. I mean, this is where it's at. What do you think, Tyler?
I think it is absolutely gorgeous, but I can't believe you don't like convertibles. You just tie back your hair, experience all the fun. with the top down. Here, the V8.
That's true, but here's the thing. I want to win. That's what it's all about, right? This is where it's at.
You want the coupes and the big blocks so you can kick some butt.
I got all the power, baby. Roll.
Aerodynamics as well. All right. I'm glad she doesn't treat men the way she treats cars. Every single one she looks at, she loves. All right, January 20th through the 28th of next year, that's when we're going to be going to Scottsdale. So if you have never been to a Barrett-Jackson auction, I got to tell you, the other ones are nice. They're enjoyable to go to, like here in New Orleans, but it's the mothership. Go to Scottsdale. It isn't a 3-ring circus. It's a 12-ring circus. You saw the date starting on January 20th. Make your plans to be there right now. Up on the block, a 1960 Impala Bubble Top.
Chevy did us all a favor to know what engine was in each of their cars. Just look at the center of the grille at that emblem. When you see the crossed flags and the V, that means you got the big W block, the 348 cubic inch engine that was the top of the line for 1960. You could also get a 283 small block V8 or a straight 6. And they were called out on the hood and trunk differently. Now this is a tri-power 348, so 350 horsepower in this one, 3 2-barrel carburetors, aftermarket air cleaner. This one has been treated to a power brake conversion, and now it has a new home.
Yeah, 4-speed. It's all about the performance in this one. $42,000 for that 1960 Impala Bubble Top and all that tri-power performance. We'll be back in just a moment to New Orleans. Well, our time in New Orleans is starting to come to an end, and what a shame. Boy, so much to see, so much to do. You could spend a lot of time in this town and really barely scratch all the history of this place. You know, it's been an official city for the last 300 years, part of the U.S. for the last couple hundred, but boy, this has been a meeting place for centuries in this neck of the woods. See the last 3 cars crossing the block? That 56 Chevy 210 sold for $100,000. All right, now we got a 67 427 Roadster Recreation up on the block.
Yeah, so this is a replica, of course, the iconic 427 Cobra that Carroll Shelby took an AC and put in a Ford big block, and, well, a legend was born. There's been countless replicas made of these. This is one of them with the big block, the side pipes, the roll bar for the driver. Great looking car.
Can't go wrong having fun in one of those. And that one just sold for $67,000 with that big 427 engine. According to consignor, less than 400 miles on the build. Going up is something very different. I love this. It's from 1990. It's a Toyota Bandeirante custom pickup truck. So what's a Bandeirante? Well, it's a South American Toyota.
Yeah, so a Brazilian Toyota to look like sort of an FJ Land Cruiser, but it's a truck. It's the pickup truck version. So you have the very long frame, extended cab, so you have a back seat. Very modern thinking, I believe. Yeah, 1990, so very much a modern car, but it has that vintage FJ look. The long wheelbase, and then you have a decent-sized truck bed, but that rugged FJ look and reliability.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's a number of car companies that would license the ability to build cars in foreign countries. One of the first cars we saw come across the block was a Kaiser that was built in 1960, even though in the United States they'd stopped building them because they allowed them in Brazil they sent down all the manufacturing parts, and Kaisers continued to be built into the 60s. We saw the same thing with Volkswagen, where they were building Volkswagens into for decades to come, even though the body style changed in the United States for the buses in 1967 to 68. Well, they were building those early 67 and before body styles, for years and years to come. So, not unusual to see this different style and different look from a South American build.
Yeah, not only is it an oddball car we never would have imagined seeing in the United States, but it's also been customized to a pretty crazy degree. You can see the lift kit on this thing, the interior is certainly custom, and then looking in the bed, it is Rhino lined, and then also they put some teak wood up here on top of the Rhino line bed for another sort of luxury touch. Looks like a sauna almost, where you'd sit back and relax. Under the hood, a diesel, Toyota diesel, which obviously is known for running forever.
Yeah, the interesting thing is when they first started building these Toyotas in the early 50s, they actually had to lease a portion of a Ford plant down there to make room for it. All right, away that goes, and we're going to go away for just a moment to check with Mike Joy, who I understand has some special guests.
All right, Steve Davis, give us the lowdown on New Orleans and how these 2 days have been.
Unbelievable. Great crowds, great food, great environment, and great prices. Super Saturday lived up to its name once again, Mike. $400,000 for a licensed Eleanor, $300,000 for a 54 Chevy pickup, Mark Chirillo. Absolutely amazing day, but the crowd embraced us, the city embraced us, and I think that was really the key. The collector car world is alive and well in New Orleans.
Yeah, big success all the way around. We're going to talk about Scottsdale and what's coming up, but first I know you got a friend of ours you'd like to say hello to.
Yes, Steve. Mr. Mignante, you are so messed up here on the auction block. Get well soon. All of us, we love you. We hope to see you in Scottsdale.
All right, what can we look forward to when we get back to Arizona?
Well, we have a lot of exciting things. So we're announcing, we haven't announced publicly the band yet, but opening on the first Friday before we go into the Saturday of the Family Day is going to be a concert with a great 70s vintage band on their final tour. So one of my favorite bands. I'm looking forward to that. For the salon, we already have a 2015 LaFerrari consigned, one of one car, and that's going to be the nucleus of the supercar showcase for Saturday in the salon. So a lot of great things. We've already got, what, Steve, a couple hundred apps in already of some great cars. So if you want to consign now, make your reservations to come to Scottsdale. It is going to be unbelievable.
So is your desk stack after stack after stack already?
Absolutely, Mike. It's amazing what's happening with Scottsdale. And again, this is a great indication of the momentum we'll have moving into Scottsdale. Pipeline is full already, literally. And when we get back after being gone about a week, it's going to be, I'll need a telescope to look over my desk.
All right, and a couple more surprises to come. We all can't wait to see you in Scottsdale.
Looking forward to that. Remember, that'll be the third week of January. I got to tell you, if you're a car guy, car gal, that is where you have to go at some point in your life. Truly a bucket list event. $19,000, the current bid on this 1961 Rolls-Royce Silver Cloud 2.
Well, if you're thinking this looks very similar to the top seller yesterday, the Bentley, well, that's because they were built on the same assembly line. Very similar cars. Rolls-Royce acquired Bentley, and they were building more or less of the same thing with, different badging. This one, though, is a little different. It doesn't have the story as far as the royalty and all that, and it doesn't have the extensive restoration. This one's showing a lot of patina, maybe the original paint, but a unique color, the green, and it looks like it has the previous owner's last name sort of monogrammed on the back door, because that's where they would have been driven around.
Well, if only my last name began with S, I guess I could claim that and say, oh yeah, that's what we drove around when I was a kid. $24,000, away it goes, that Rolls-Royce Silver Cloud 2. Oh, the clouds are forming over us because we're coming to the end of our 5 hours of coverage of the Barrett-Jackson collector car auction here on the History Channel. But we're not done, so don't go away just yet. Super Saturday has been so much fun here at Barrett-Jackson, but it's not over yet. Some great cars left across the block, like this one, a 1955 Chevy sedan delivery. This one's special, though. It's a custom Boyd Coddington wagon.
Well, to start with, this is a very rare body style. Chevrolet did have a two-door station wagon, the Deluxe Nomad, which was a two-door hardtop. This was built like the 150, the base level of station wagon, but instead of side windows and a rear seat, it had a load floor and was used for deliveries.
Well, that one just crossed the block and sold here at Barrett-Jackson. Gets a brand new owner. Remember I said it's been a pretty spectacular Super Saturday? Let's take a look at our top sellers of the day. In the third position, check this out. It's a 1967 Mustang Eleanor Tribute Edition, big 429 cubic inch engine. It sold for $400,000. How do you top that? Well, how about a 2005 Ford GT? Now, this is a Hennessy 1000, twin turbos, 1,000 horsepower. It sold for $450,000. But the #1 sale of the day was a spectacular Corvette Restomod, a 1958 Corvette Custom 6.2-liter LS3 engine. Hammer price for this, $600,000. Beautifully done. And the people out here appreciate it. In fact, when they were bidding on the money, it blew from 400 up to 600 like that. Up on the block now, a 1966 Mustang GT convertible.
Yeah, note the fog lights in the grille. That's the hallmark of the GT, along with the GT side stripes and emblem. This one with the upgraded Pony interior, full-length console, 289 4-barrel automatic.
Yes, this is the A code, so it was born on the VIN, the mid-level 289 with 225 horsepower, so a nice option there. And interesting colors for this year, 1966. We don't know if it's original, but it looks like it.
Looks like Ember Glow. Seldom seen color, but sharp.
I tell you what, awful lot of 65 convertibles out there, but they still bring strong money, still great appreciation. You saw that one just sell here at Barrett-Jackson, that 66 Mustang GT convertible. 1972 Chevy C10 pickup up on the block right now.
Color looks like Omaha Orange, which was a GM Fleet color, and not to be confused with Hugger Orange, although the interior in this has been done in a Hugger Orange and black houndstooth. This one's been lowered. It's a short bed. It's a nice little custom, sweet little truck.
The consignor is calling this Hugger Orange, so that's what they're saying.
Okay, I'll go with him.
It's interesting, the description, it says it's a C20, but then it's titled as a C10. So the C20 would have gotten the 8-lug wheels, which I don't believe this one has. It looks like it's rolling on the normal C10 suspension. So I wonder why they're calling it a C20 and it's titled and it has the suspension and axles of a C10.
Yeah, most of those C20 3/4-ton trucks were long beds, not short beds like this one. One thing I do like is the color-matched bed liner. You want to spray the interior of these beds with this bed liner material because it's not going to scratch, not going to have any issues with it. Usually that bed liner is black, but here it has been color matched to the exterior in, as Rick says, Hugger Orange.
And the Hugger Orange is matching in the interior as well with the dash and then the tweed bench seat as well. There's a custom package, a little bit of a luxury trim level in these trucks.
$42,000 for that 72 Hugger Orange custom pickup truck. Oh, they say that's not big enough for you. You want something even bolder? Well, check this out, a 1986 Bronco Custom. Boy, this thing has been raised.
Yeah, we have a 10-inch lift on this 86 Bronco. 86 was also the year I was born, but obviously the roof is permanently off of this thing because you have the rear roll bar sticking up past where the hardtop would be. So I imagine they've devised some sort of soft top system here to snap it in. Also a sort of a Baja mount for the spare tire. And whoa, I just got to look at the tailgate. God bless our troops.
Excuse me while I get my step ladder to get in this one. You're going to be large and in charge no matter where you want to go with this.
Yeah, it's a Tonka truck, it's a Hot Wheels toy, it's everything. Well, unfortunately, that's going to do it for our time here in New Orleans. But boy, what an incredible ride it's been this week, especially today. That's why Barrett-Jackson sets the standard in the collector car world. We'd like to say a special thanks to our world-class crew that works tirelessly to bring you this amazing television coverage. They are truly the best in the business. Of course, we have to send out our thoughts and prayers to Steve Magnante. We're thinking about you, buddy. We know you had some health issues. You can't be here. We're looking forward to your return to our crew. So for Mike Joy, April Rose, Tyler Hoover, I'm Rick DeGrohl. Thank you so much for riding along with us this week. We'll see you in January at the Mecca of the collector car world, Barrett-Jackson, Scottsdale.